Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Yes, our season's over, and yes, that last game blew. But Brock, you should still feel proud. We wouldn't be there without you.
Aw, that's nice.
And Christian McCaffrey, dude can run, catch, and pass. But I prefer Nick Bosa throwing Prescott
on his bottom.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, welcome into the zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco and Beards. We head up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 4 hours as the final day of our coverage live from Radio Row here in Phoenix. Super Bowl 57 will take place and conclude at 2 o'clock, and we will have so much more stuff for you as well. We got bonus hours and a lot of interviews and even things that we may be doing that we haven't heard on the air live yet on bonus hours coming up tomorrow, and all coverage going into Sunday and pregame show and Super Bowl 57 right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We will talk with Tom Pelissero here very shortly in like 10 minutes from now. We'll also talk with Mayor Q. We'll talk with Kathy Nelson and Mark Donovan, scheduled to talk with Sam Ponder and Rob Riggle and Mark Schlereth and Louis Riddick, Matt Derrick and Mick Schaefer, and we'll see how we can fit 2 weeks' worth of shows into 4 hours, and then also hear from Jerick McKinnon and Sky Moore and whoever else as this week goes on. 913, or this show goes on. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. It's interesting, Josh, that as the days have gone on and into today, and this is kind of, I guess, what happens with me is the ebbs and flows of emotions and the confidence and then concern and confidence and concern and optimism and then pessimism and on into Friday, and I'm feeling better and better about the Chiefs and them winning on Sunday. And, the more and more looking at it and breaking it down, I spent 2 weeks ago doing the same thing with the Chiefs and Bengals that started off saying, yeah, well, they're playing the Bengals, but, I can't pick the Chiefs since I said, by principle alone, I've got to pick the Bengals, and here are the issues that the Chiefs have had. But then you start breaking the game down more and more in the matchups they've had, and became more and more confident just in what the Chiefs can do and what they can accomplish. And I think we saw that out at Arrowhead Stadium against the Bengals, and now this week doing the same thing, doing this, looking at it more, watching, games and things like that, and talking with different people and hearing different conversations. I mean, Jaws yesterday saying that, that's you can tell that that Jalen Hurts is wincing on some of the throws, and some of his throws were dying in that game against the 49ers. Like, you look at some of those things, and then the Chiefs and Spags and ability to, hopefully limit the run and what they can do tackling, and certainly this Chiefs offense against that Eagles defense and what they have faced in terms of quarterbacks and the better quarterbacks they have faced. They have given up 30-plus points. That, there's so many things about this that, Cynthia Freeland said the Chiefs should be favored. And we see some other analytics people saying, all of the things going into this, the Chiefs should be favored. I feel more and more confident. And also the fact that so many people are picking the Eagles to win here. I just feel like, it's one of those things where, what does Soren say? You just stand by the window in Vegas, Josh, and listen to the team that everybody's picking. And then after that, you just go and pick the other side and ride with the win there. That's how it feels around here with so many analysts. And there's some Chiefs picks, but I'm finding myself becoming more and more confident in what the Chiefs can accomplish, and we'll certainly break down some of the X's and O's, but that's how my week typically goes along, with the ebbs and flows of confidence and pessimism, and now I'm feeling pretty good about Sunday's result.
I also am feeling pretty good. I know we're not quite in prediction territory yet, but we've talked about this week the whole better team, better quarterback debate. And look, like, I know that the Eagles have a lot of great talent in their secondary, in the trenches, and so do the Chiefs. Like, what I'm ultimately finding for myself is that a lot of this depends on, like, Kadarius Toney being healthy. We've talked about what he does in motion to keep defenses honest, the speed guys in the red zone, what they can do. There are some ways, some very simple, logical ways the Eagles win this game. But as I've been sitting here trying to, and frankly, I've had some weird confidence since, like, Monday. As long as I've been sitting here trying to poke holes in my own arguments for the Chiefs, I haven't found any fatal flaws. I mean, the self-inflicted wounds are always on the table, I suppose, but barring something disastrous on special teams, I'm just liking the Chiefs. I'm not telling you to put the house on them, but I'm feeling pretty good about where they stand right now. I think they do too.
Yeah, and one of the things that I do think that we talk about the Eagles' defense and putting pressure on the quarterback. And I've mentioned it a number of times that it is surprising to me that Jalen Hurts ranks 27th out of 40 quarterbacks that qualify in percentage of pressures that turn into sacks. That you would think that would be something where he would rank really high by being a scrambling quarterback, by being somebody that can use his legs. But 27th, 20% of the pressures end up being a sack for Jalen Hurts. So 1 out of every 5 pressures, he's going to the ground. Whereas Patrick Mahomes is number 1 out of those 40 quarterbacks in only 10%. He is the best at pressures not turning into sacks. And the Philadelphia defense, they have faced 3 quarterbacks that have a 15% sack to pressure rate. Like, you know, we're talking about with Jalen Hurts 20%, Mahomes 10%, that have had a lower sack to pressure rate than 15%. It's Jared Goff, it's Dak Prescott, and even Davis Mills. And you're talking about Jared Goff, that team put up 35 points in Detroit. You're talking about Dak Prescott, that team put up 40 points for the Cowboys. And even Davis Mills had, 2 touchdowns passing in that game. He had 2 interceptions as well because, it's Davis Mills. So how good is he going to be? Those are the 3 quarterbacks they have faced this year that do not allow pressures to turn into sacks, and Mahomes is better than all of them at that. And so when you have what feels like more of a sack-dependent defense, a turnover-dependent defense, so the sacks are equaling turnovers for the Eagles, and you're going up against an offense and a quarterback that eliminates that better than any other quarterback in the NFL, and they have been beaten, or at least points scored by quarterbacks that are able to do that, because when they're not sacking the quarterback and creating turnovers and playing with a positive and advantageous game script, the defense has been beaten. The defense has given up points. And the Chiefs are the best offense they'll face all year, that they have faced all year, the best quarterback they have faced all year, the 2-time MVP that they have faced this year. So I don't find the Eagles' defense, as we watch a little bit more, and there's a lot of film out there of people breaking down the matchups and what other teams have done against the Eagles. This is not the 85 Bears. This is not the Ravens of the early 2000s that are going to come out and just hurt you and limit you in 3-and-outs, drive after drive after drive, and turnovers and sacks, and you feel like there are 15 players on the field. That's not this defense. When they're not sacking the quarterback, when they're not turning, teams over, they're, I don't want to say, pedestrian is too strong of a word, but they are not murderer's row. They are not this unstoppable, immovable object that the Chiefs can't get by.
And here's one other thing I think's playing into it for some people. You say they're not the 85 Bears. You're right. Also, the Chiefs aren't the 2020, 2021 Chiefs. Because a thing that I've heard come up pretty frequently is, the one way you can really rattle Mahomes, or that you can pull this offense apart, basically, even when Mahomes was great, is constant pressure and just thumping that offensive line, because we all saw it in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers. And I think people are confusing Orlando Brown Jr. and Andrew Wiley with Mike Rimmers and Andrew Wiley, and an interior that wasn't as good as the interior is now by leaps and bounds. So I think there's some residual what happened the last time the pass rush got to Mahomes sort of effects for some people that shouldn't be there, because this offensive line is much upgraded over that one, even though the tackles on this team have earned some questions this year.
Yep. And as we talk about that, we sit down and have a conversation as Tom Pelissero is joining us right now from NFL Network in the 8.5-hour edition of Game Day Sunday morning. No big deal, just your regular 8.5-hour show.
7 a.m. Mountain Time, I believe, is the kickoff here. Pales in comparison to last year when we did it on the West Coast in L.A. Again, early start, 1 more hour difference, and we had to get out to Inglewood. That was not my finest morning. I forgot my pants to my suit, showed up at the studio because I was rolling in sweats. I was going to change there. Literally opened the back, pulled it out, and I go, oh, my God, I forgot my pants. Had to call my wife, wake her up in the room at like 2 in the morning, got him downstairs, came in another car, pants were on, and we had full length. It would have been very apparent if I had the jacket, the shirt, the tie, and the sweatpants. It would have been very obvious on TV. So, yeah, thanks to my wife and everybody else who made that happen.
How many segments have you done wearing shorts and the shirt and tie and jacket?
So that's, that has evolved because, I've got the home cam studio in my basement. That's where I do a lot of the news stuff, especially on Good Morning Football and things. So
yeah.
That's an early start in Minneapolis for me. But I used to be a hardcore, I'm still going to wear pants, not the suit pants, but I would wear jeans on the bottom.
Okay.
But then, like so many other things during COVID, it was just like one day I was just like, you know what? Can't do it. I once did a segment, this is going back several years in free agency, but when Le'Veon Bell signed with the Jets, so this is, I'm going back like 4 or 5 years, and that happened. Everybody was waiting up for his rap album to drop at midnight. And the thinking was it was going to be a lyric on the record, but in fact he was just promoting it. And then like 45 minutes later, he agreed with the Jets. So once the album did not have the lyric, I decided, all right, I'm going to try to get like a quick nap in here. 10 minutes later, Le'Veon puts it out. He's signing with the Jets. I run downstairs, no time for pants. So I'm shirt, jacket, and boxer briefs, and did like an hour and a half of TV like that.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what's going on down there. Usually clothed, though. Usually clothed.
Tom Pelissero was our guest. Did you think that in the first ever ranked choice of the honors and awards that Mahomes would take home 48 of the 50 first-place votes when you can actually rank them instead of, I've only got one vote and I've got to vote for this person? Did you think 48 out of 50 first-place votes for Mahomes?
I did, and, Jalen Hurts, if he had not gotten banged up and missed a couple games at the end of the season, maybe he would have gotten a few more. But when I do my annual poll of general managers and other executives at the end of the year, and it was pretty lopsided toward Mahomes in that vote, too. I think that the ranked choice voting is going to be interesting in the years where you don't have a clear front runner. If you have a year where there's like 3 or 4, that could really be meaningful in terms of how things shake out. So if you go, I'm trying to think of another year where there was really a split vote. It wasn't going to be that way this year. I think again, Jalen Hurts had a phenomenal year. In any other year, he's probably an MVP candidate and getting more votes, but. I'm also of the mind that Patrick Mahomes might be the greatest player that we've ever seen in the league, and I'm not saying that because I'm on Kansas City radio. I said it in Denver. I said it with the Raiders guys. I don't think they like hearing it as much. He may well be the best player we've ever seen. He's 27 years old. I know every Chiefs fan knows these stats, but he's 27. He's won 2 MVPs. He's been to 3 Super Bowls, got a chance to win a second one, and he's not a quarterback that, for instance, is relying on their athletic ability or their running ability. He moves around, but he can win from the pocket. In other words, as he ages here, he's so smart. He knows where to go with the ball. He could sustain this for a long time. The only reason he doesn't win the MVP every year is the same reason that Bill Belichick didn't win Coach of the Year. And, I mean, there may have been some other factors with Bill, but the point is, for 15 years in New England, you could have voted Bill for Coach of the Year every year. People don't like to vote for the same thing all the time. And so other people would win the award year in and year out. The only reason Patrick Mahomes is not the MVP every year is because people want to reward something different. This guy had a good year. Every Patrick Mahomes year is an MVP year. And I really, truly believe that we've never seen anything like this.
Do you think now that he's won 2 that there may be a little more of that of let's find somebody else that's having a great season, not named Patrick Mahomes, to see if this person can get the MVP award? Or will there be years like this when it almost felt like this was a year that Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts and all these other guys that it was like, well, there's no denying who the MVP is going to be this year?
Well, imagine if the Chiefs lose the Super Bowl on Sunday, which I know nobody in Kansas City wants to envision. But let's say you did. The narrative through the entire offseason will be Patrick Mahomes getting to the Super Bowl, lost another one, even though that's moronic. It is absolutely idiotic to talk about that. But you know as well as I do how the industry works, and somebody's going to latch onto it. It's like the only thing. It's like LeBron. The only thing you could poke holes in was, well, he had to go to Miami and win it with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Oh, he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. Even though, again, one of the greatest players of all time. You look to nitpick on certain things. Yeah, I do think that there's going to be a little bit of that. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has won 4 MVPs. He's won 1 Super Bowl. Mahomes, at 27, can double Aaron Rodgers' Super Bowl total that quickly. I mean, I think there's always going to be a little bit of that. He did this year, too. Banged up.
Yeah.
And after trading away one of the best receivers in the NFL, like, what more do we want? What more does anybody need from Patrick Mahomes?
Tom Pelissero is our guest. Is there a feel of like a win is needed? Like if we look at legacy stuff, and certainly around here we like to do that. Do the Chiefs need to win on Sunday to feel like this is more dynastic than just a really good run for a team? That it's like, okay, now you won 2 Super Bowls in 4 years and 5 AFC Championship games that you've hosted. You've been to 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, and you've got 2 of them. Is a win almost required to say, okay, that was really dynastic?
I think that's fair because dynasties are built on how many times do you win, and it's not consecutive. But again, their success over 5 years with Mahomes has been virtually unprecedented. I mean, only Tom Brady had this type of a run, really. I think in terms of quarterbacks, Peyton Manning was there a bunch, but didn't get to a ton of Super Bowls. Didn't win a Super Bowl until later in his career. So, 2006, and then obviously got the second one in Denver
later. Yeah.
So, I've always thought, and you historically go back and look at this, second Super Bowl win, especially for head coaches, but also for quarterbacks. If you win 2, that's generally in the can. I think that if Patrick Mahomes, you could probably even say this today, but if they were to win the Super Bowl on Sunday and he retires on Monday, in my mind, he's already a Hall of Famer because that's how much he's accomplished through the course of his career. I don't anticipate he's going to walk away. I'm pretty confident that he's going to be doing this for a while.
Tom Pelissero reporting.
Yeah,
Patrick
exactly.
Mahomes will
that'll be the thing that'll get cut out. That'll be the clipped headline. I think that's fair to say. Just because if you want to be a dynasty, you got to win. It's been a long time outside the Patriots since you had multiple Super Bowls with, in essence, the same core group. And so, for Mahomes and the Chiefs to do it, it'd be the stuff of legends.
Tom Pelissero is our guest from NFL Network. Over 48 hours to go until the Super Bowl. Is there a concern of the bug, the sickness going through the Chiefs right now and some of the players, and even with L'Jarius Sneed being limited yesterday? Kadarius Toney, full practice. Yes. L'Jarius Sneed limited with a knee. Wait a minute. What's that about? Is there a concern at all behind the scenes there, do you think?
I don't think so. They're managing a bunch of different stuff right now. I certainly don't get the sense that, like in past years, if you saw somebody pop up on the COVID list and you were wondering, is this game going to be played? I think they're going to be, as long as Patrick Mahomes shows up, as long as Frank Clark shows up and Chris Jones and the core players, they should be fine.
Do you think, Tom Pelissero is our guest, do you think this is a year to where we've heard Eric Bieniemy's name thrown around for offensive coordinator jobs? Do you think this is a year to where he just says, I've got to separate from Andy Reid to really be viewed legitimately as a head coach, unfortunately, to get that job? Do you think he takes an offensive coordinator job, in the offseason?
I think that, even beyond, legitimizing him, because I think that, people can evaluate him based off the body of work here. But, yeah, absolutely. There's a reason he signed 1-year contracts the last couple of years. He's wanted to have those opportunities. If I'm guessing right now, and this is just purely my guess on this, I think he's the Ravens' offensive coordinator. Commanders want to talk to him too. Baltimore seems like the perfect fit. And so we'll see where that goes in the coming days here. The rules are complicated. The rules, frankly, tipped against Eric this year, and the Eagles coaches as well, because they had the bye. They continue to enhance the Rooney Rule, and they want to slow down the process, which they believe is going to lead to better equity in hiring. I personally, just my opinion, I don't agree with a lot of the restrictions that are put into place. I think that they are counterproductive. But one, this year is, for the first time, you couldn't do in-person interviews during the bye with coaches from teams that had the bye. So there's owners who don't like Zoom, don't want to do it. Certainly don't want to hire a head coach based off of it. So Eric Bieniemy is just like Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon. None of those guys could interview in person during the bye. So that immediately put them behind, and it actually hampered the opportunities here. I think that's something that the league should reevaluate. But again, I understand why they're doing it. They want to see better equity in hiring here. It's hard for Eric. He's had 18 head coaching requests, interviewed with most of those teams, some teams twice over the years here. It's hard at this point. But if he were to go to Baltimore or Washington or wherever and have some success, that would absolutely help his campaign. There's no doubt about it. It shouldn't be a disqualifier that he hasn't been the primary play caller, that he's been with Andy Reid. But would it help? Sure. Just like if you or I go someplace All right, you want to show you can do it on a different stage. You want to show you can do something else. You have success. You would like to think that bodes well for you in the future.
Tom Pelissero is our guest from NFL Network. Better hair, you or James Palmer?
Me.
Yeah, I mean
it's not close. Palmer.
What would Palmer
Palmer's
say?
got. Here's the thing. Palmer would say himself. Palmer has height. Okay, I don't have the height that he does, but I like to think I've got better shine, better sheen, and a little bit better hold than he does as well. I'm also happy that my kids now have gotten to the age where they can tell the difference between us on TV. Like when my daughter Finley was like 2 years old and she'd see Palmer come on TV, it'd be Daddy. And then Tegan, who was like 4 at the time, would go, "No, that's James Palmer."
I'm sitting next to you.
Yeah,
right here.
Yeah, exactly. So there's plenty of those. There's a few I bumped into some other people. They hear this week like, "Oh, I knew your dad." It's like probably not. Don't think so. Maybe you did, but he's not the Philadelphia sportscaster. If that's what you're thinking.
I was going to ask how many people think you're James or he's Tom, and that whole confusion.
I remember one time on TV in our Inside Training Camp shows years ago. And somebody called. What was it? It was somebody was throwing it back. It was James threw it back to somebody in studio. I think it was to Amber Theo Harris, and he called her Colleen, and she said, "Thanks, Tom." And she goes, "You call me Colleen? I'm calling you Tom."
That's great. Do you have a feel for Sunday, a prediction as to what you think might happen?
I'm out of the prediction game,
Okay.
man. I've been so bad at it. There's no upside to it for me. I do think it's going to be a really interesting game. I mean, just the matchups. You got so many good coaches in this game. We don't talk a lot about the coaches, but Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo's been around the block. Steve's been in so many of these battles on the biggest stages through the years, going back to his Giants days. And then in Philly, you've got Nick Sirianni, who was the last coach hired a couple of years ago, and has ended up being, unbelievable. And he's brought just this vibe and this swagger to that building. Shane Steichen's a really good play caller. And on defense, obviously, Jonathan Gannon's one of the rising guys too. And so just the chess match of this, I think is going to be really fascinating. You got two, amazing, unique quarterbacks as well in this game. How do those defenses attack those guys?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the fascinating storylines to watch play out.
Tom Pelissero, NFL Network. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate the time.
You got
man.
it, absolutely.
Absolutely. There's Tom Pelissero. We're hanging out here at Radio Row in Phoenix. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk with the mayor. Mayor Quentin Lucas is going to join us next here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You could have also gone.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, hanging out in Phoenix at Radio Row, heading up to Super Bowl 57. Joined now by the royalty, Mayor Quentin Lucas joining us. Mr. Mayor, how are you, sir?
I am doing great. Excited to be here in Arizona with a big chunk of Chiefs Kingdom. I flew in last night, Southwest Airlines flight, with George Brett, with a whole crowd of people that are going to the game this weekend.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah. That's great. So some other royalty from Kansas City that's on that flight as well. Now, has the trash talking between the mayors taken place this week? Have you made a declaration? Have you named the day, anything,
I
Mayor?
can promise everyone in Chiefs Kingdom we have learned from the experience of Cincinnati that there will be no trash talk. There will be no mayor getting a shout-out from the trophy presentation after a game, positive or negative. It's about the players on the field. I have had a chance to place a bet with the mayor of Philadelphia. We're sending barbecue, and in like a switch-up, they are not betting us cheesesteak, which you would expect. Instead, some pizza and beer.
Okay.
But, it is what it is. I'll make sure I give it to some good public safety folks back home when we win. So looking forward to it.
You declined the Skyline, right?
I have not done any chili from Cincinnati or anything like that. Ain't doing no trash talk. I'm happy to just eat our good KC food.
What was your reaction to when you saw that from the mayor?
It was an interesting day because, believe it or not, I know a lot of people don't think politicians do anything all day. I had like a string of meetings, and then I get back, I turn on my phone like every American, right?
Yeah.
And all these people are like, "Q, you got to do something," and I watch his like video bet, and I was just like, "Oh, I'll be darned." They actually wrote this out and recorded it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been known to say a non-wise thing on Twitter every now and then. That might be a pass. I'm like, you did a presentation that said that Burrow is Mahomes' daddy. And I was like, this ain't going to go well.
No.
And it did not. But I will say this. The mayor of Cincy is a nice man, good guy who I think sometimes you just let yourself get a little bit of ahead of what's going on around you. That happened there. And then immediately after, I was like, Q, keep your head down. Don't engage. One final vignette. My wife always tells me, like many of our spouses, she's like, dude, shut the heck up. You ain't got to be in this. That was one time I'm glad that she just said, put the phone down.
Was the urge to go,
yeah. Oh, we've all been teenagers, right? So I was ready to be like, oh, he thinks he's got something. But I was like, you know what? I'll keep Joe Burrow's name out my mouth. So it worked out.
You were going to type out, you know what, jabroni? And then and then as it turns out, Travis Kelce took that role for you. Mayor Quentin Lucas is our guest. New flag for Kansas City. That thing, I love it. I absolutely love it.
So you know what? It was an important kind of rebrand for Kansas City because let's just be honest. Kansas City's got it going on. I'm a kid who grew up listening to Chad Boger on the radio, right? We all remember.
You're the one. Okay.
I was,
found him.
There are four of us out there, right? We remember some good sports radio 1510 right now. And things were good. We had good people, don't get me wrong. But if you look at what's happened in Kansas City over the last 20 years, not just certainly this team, but also new airport, investment downtown, which was a desolate kind of spot 20, 30 years ago. I mean, you are seeing this growth, and we thought rebranding with the city's flag was a key part of it. The one thing that's interesting, though, it is red and blue. Red, white, and blue, actually. But we got some salty Mizzou fans out there. They're like, what is this? I'm like, well, the American flag's red, white, and blue. It's very simple on colors. It's for everybody. Check it out, and we'll be making sure that you guys get one at the station, too.
Awesome. I love it. I absolutely love it. So the rebrand, I saw it. They're like, it's a new flag. I'm like, oh, no. Because you never know.
Yeah.
Like, anytime they break out, like, alternate uniforms and jerseys,
You're
you
right.
never know what the reaction's going to be. What have you heard the reaction?
You know what? The reaction has been pretty positive so far. A few things we were doing with it, and I got, really nerding out on flags at one point. So we were taking words out, right? People say that's not what you're supposed to do. And we just have good symbol, good colors, all of that. And we wanted something that, particularly for the soccer fans, they taught me a lot. Because they'll all bring their flags, right? And they're doing their thing. And I'll see that in, a Chicago, certainly over in Europe. I wanted us to be able to have this good, recognizable brand that
clean.
if everybody's got their flag, whether you're sporting game, Chiefs, Royals, one of our college teams, everybody kind of knows Kansas City's got a consistent thing.
Yeah. And it's clean. It's not busy. It's not
That's
so
right.
much stuff going on,
That's right.
which is sometimes difficult to see the different flags. And
Right.
It's clean. It's right,
Right.
there.
Can I really bore everybody? Because
Yes.
that's why you don't.
I do it on a daily basis. So welcome to the show.
That's why I wear the same lapel pin every day, and people are sometimes like, "Ooh, here's a new one with 80 words and all these intricate things." And I remember I wore one once. I was on TV, and I was like, "Oh, that looks like a mess." I'm going back to KC with red, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do with our flag too, to simplify it, make sure people know what KC is all about, no matter where they are in the world.
Mayor Quentin Lucas is our guest, and the renderings are out for the draft, which they're absolutely beautiful as well. There's so much going on. There's so much going on around the city with, we've got hopefully a parade on Wednesday and the Big 12 tournament and Midwest Regional Final and the draft coming up in April. The airport opening up. We've got so much to put the city on the grand stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not trying to jinx anything. We just make plans because we have
Absolutely.
to. So the parade would be on Wednesday. The demographic that is most excited about the parade are high school kids.
Oh, no
So
doubt.
I visited 3 Kansas City high schools this week, and they were like, "Hey, Mayor Q, do we get the day off from school if there's a parade?" I'm like, I'm not going to get ahead of your teachers. But they are – I don't know if any of them plan to actually go to the parade, but they ain't trying to be in a classroom on
Right.
Wednesday. But nonetheless, that would be huge. Right, it's looking like the weather will be really good.
Yes.
Kathy Nelson just told me 60 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
which for those who remember the 2015 Royals parade, it was the greatest day in the history of time.
Yeah.
And hopefully we
and
get
the
a chance.
Chiefs.
Right, yeah.
Chiefs
And then the
was
Chiefs
cold.
parade, a lot of fun.
Ooh.
And this is why I love Chiefs Kingdom, by the way. I got there 4 a.m. because, mayor's got a mayor, right?
Yeah.
I bump into this family from Chillicothe, Missouri, and they're just sitting in a tent at 4 a.m. It's 12 degrees.
So cold.
And I'm like, God bless you. And the dad is like, he's got to learn, talking about his kid. And I'm like, I plan to do that to my son when he's old enough.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, we've already got the message from our kids' school district that Wednesday
Really?
the Chiefs
Already
win.
done?
They're out of school. My wife works at Barstow. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be Wednesday. It's it's a big day around the city.
So we're hoping that everything works out with it. Kansas City will be ready. I'm excited for a really good game, too.
Absolutely, I am definitely excited for that. Mayor Quentin Lucas is our guest as we are hanging out here at the Super Bowl. Do you have a feel? Do you get the excitement building up? Will you be at the game?
I
Sunday?
am blessed. I will be at the game.
Look
Something I
at
never
you.
thought I could say when I was a kid. I will be at my 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years, which is just
Amazing.
insanity.
Yeah.
Actually, it was funny because I was talking to my mom this week. She's like, "Are you bringing me?" And I'm like, "Well, Mama, I'm bringing my wife, and we ain't quite got it like that, right? I ain't Mayor Mike Bloomberg, right? So we're different in the wallets, but it's a thrill. The thing that really excited me when I was actually at KCI Airport last night, which, by the way, my last time flying out of the old terminal, and you just all these people in red, they were smiling. And this is the thing about sports, actually, and probably why some of you guys went into it. A lot of things that are tough every day in the world, in all of our jobs and all of our lives. Nothing brings our region together better than sports, right? You have people of every race, political persuasion, size, gender, background that are just like, man, we're stoked. And that's what meant so much to me on that flight. And that's what I think is why this city, this region, loves the Chiefs so much.
Absolutely. Do they win on Sunday?
I think they do. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a homer and a mayor. Although that'd be funny to be the mayor's like, don't think they got a shot.
No, I don't know.
Right. Like,
Good luck to that team.
I've met a few like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
huh. No, here's why for me. When you look at the defensive improvement, I mean, the AFC Championship games this year versus last, a lot of similarities. But the defense having that stop, I know all of us were nervous, right? When Burrow's got the ball, a few minutes left, have opportunity to drive down the field, you're like, oh, my God, I've seen this before. We're all having heart attacks at home. Defense stepped up. I mean, truly did. I understand Butker made a clutch kick, Patrick on a scramble, but I give props to Spags and his crew. I think they do that again. I think Philadelphia, while they have, done a great job in the NFC postseason. They haven't been tested,
Yeah.
right? San Francisco basically didn't have a quarterback by the end of the game through much of it, right? I think there will be a good test here. I'm expecting Chiefs to win 27-24.
27-24. Mayor Quentin Lucas on record there for a Chiefs victory and a parade on Wednesday. Let's hope that is the case. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate it. Enjoy the festivities over the next few days and the game as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Hey,
it.
thank you. Let's go, Chiefs. Everybody, have a safe and happy celebration when we win.
You're darn right. There is Mr. Mayor Quentin Lucas joining us here in the zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Our coverage continues to roll along, presented by Rally House, your home for officially licensed NFL gear, your city, your house, Rally House. More zone rolling along next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810.
Who's going to win and by how much? You're about to find out from national sports handicapping champion Lee Sterling on The Zone. Log on to ParamountSports.com or call toll-free 800-400-9741 to get started.
Well, it is the reddest of Fridays in Kansas City and also in Phoenix, Arizona, because the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl again, and this is a great time to talk to our good friend Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. Lee, they say this is the most bet day of the year, right? And because there's lots of different things to bet on it. How much fun is the Super Bowl for someone like you, or is it too much of the weird stuff and you'd rather just do the games?
So I like doing usually 10 to 15 prop wagers. The key is you don't want to play like 45, 50 wagers. I had a friend one time, he goes to Vegas. He bets 53 prop wagers. He sat there for an hour afterwards figuring it out, and I think he went 25 and 28. But the problem is with these prop wagers, a lot of times there's 15, 20, 25-cent juice. So you got to go, like almost 60% usually to make money. Make it a little bit tougher, add the extra juice. Whereas the game, it's usually minus 110 either way.
So what do you like this year on these player props? Anything that stick out to you?
All right, so let's start off with some players props that I think that are off. First one, Kenneth Gainwell, running back for the Eagles. The number is set for rushing yards at 19.5. This guy comes in a lot of times on third downs. They'll leave him in a couple plays. He's dynamic, gotten better as the season has progressed. I think that Philadelphia needs to run the ball to win this game here. So I got him, gaining 35, 37 yards. I'm going over 19.5 rushing yards.
I like that.
Another player under the radar, Juju Smith-Schuster. If he's 90, 95%, 40 receiving yards, I think he goes over. I think he's going to be involved in the game plan here. Underneath, he is really good, and sometimes he'll catch a ball and take it for 20, 30 yards. So I think he's going to be involved here more than people realize because he went out early in that championship game. I'm going to go over 40 receiving yards there. Two more I like. Will Travis Kelce score a touchdown any time in the game? I'm going to say yes, minus 120. And then on the other side, A.J. Brown. So plus 25 receiving yards or, take your pick, 71 receiving yards in the game. So I think he's really talented. I think he's almost like Terrell Owens 2.0. Kansas City defense, pass defense, 23rd in the league. Kansas City's defense has given up more than 70 yards to the receivers, top receivers of the team. They played in 12 of the 19 games. Let's go pick it whichever way you like. Over 71 receiving yards or plus 25 receiving yards in both halves.
Yeah, that's it really only takes like a catch for the receiving yards. Guys don't maybe bust long runs, but there's always a long catch, a 25 or 30-yard catch in a game.
Right.
So I like those there. Now,
a lot of missed tackles.
There's some wild props, too. What do you got out there that's fun?
All right, so let's start with Gatorade. So what do you think the most popular color Gatorade or most popular Gatorade is?
Well, the original, right? The green or yellow, whatever that is?
Nope.
It's not?
No, it's actually Cool Blue now.
Ah.
Cool Blue's number one. Fruit Punch is two. Lemon Lime, one of my favorites. I like Cool Blue best and Lemon Lime second. They're third. Glacier Freeze is fourth, and Orange is fifth.
Really?
Cool Blue and Glacier Freeze are both blue. Blue has been the Gatorade that's been poured on the head coach 3 of the last 4 years, sitting at plus 400. I think if they have two things of Gatorade out, at least one of them is going to be blue. They want to get what the players like. I'm going to go with blue, plus 400. How about a cross bet here? Toronto guard, Fred VanVleet for the Raptors. On Sunday, points plus assists versus Chiefs total points scored in the game. VanVleet averages 19.7 points per game, 6.5 assists. That adds up to a little over 27. Here's the kicker, though. They're playing Detroit at home. In January, Detroit gave up 120-plus points 7 times and 135 or more 3 times, including a 150-point debacle. I think Fred VanVleet's going to score probably 30-plus points and assists here. When you add them both up here, I think he's the right side there. And then finish it off with my daughter's national anthem predictions. So she's won 8 straight. As you know, she sang the Orange Bowl football game. She's pretty skilled in reading singers, and she tells me, even though Chris Stapleton's amazing, has an unbelievable voice, she said his phrasing has gotten shorter over the years. He's 44 years old now. She said even things like the air quality much drier in Arizona. She said it's the first time that we can't find any national anthems that he's sung since he turned professional. So he may be saying some in high school or college. Generally, people, the first time they sing it on a national stage, go a little bit quicker. And she said, here's the kicker. 44 years old. He has 5 kids. She says he's probably tired. The gold standard is Dana Menzel, I think, other than Whitney Houston of late. Dina Menzel, who has, I think, one of the greatest voices in our generation, sang it in 2 minutes and 4 seconds. It started at a minute 59 and a half, now up to 2 minutes and 6 seconds. She's going with the under for her 9th straight win.
Let's do it. And you know what that means? They start the game faster.
Yeah, they start the game faster, and you got a winner under your belt.
All right, so let's talk about the game itself. You like the total in this game?
Yeah, so what I'm looking at here is I think you have 2 teams getting healthy on offense. You've got Patrick Mahomes facing a defense that has not seen him. You got a Philadelphia offense that I think is going to give Kansas City some problems with a dual-threat quarterback, 2 real good receivers, and 3 Pro Bowl linemen here. I think we're headed for a shootout here. I'm going over 50.5 total points in the game. So excited about it, but nervous. Even when you have a good season like we had, you lose the Super Bowl. I've had some people, I'm telling you, that have called me the next day or called me when it comes to sign up for the next football season, tell me they lost, because the average person is going to wager 2, 3, or 5 times their normal amount. Don't do it. It's a regular game. Enjoy it. Enjoy the commercials. You're going to get together with family and friends. Don't make one game determine, whether you've had a poor season. So we do like the game. They want to get the game. Just go to ParamountSports.com. We'll give you the game. We've won 3 of the last 4 years. We've also will add in the top 10 prop plays, plus I added 2 bonus prop plays. That's 12 prop plays. It was $197 last year, just $97. And on the prop plays, we've won each of the last 5 years. So just $97 for all that. UFC got a pay-per-view. Trending is the largest buy ever for a UFC event. That goes Saturday night. We have a rare 40 to 50 unit selection there. The football game, the Super Bowl, is a 35 unit selection. You want to get the UFC card, just $47 for 6 to 7 selections. And if we don't produce a winning card, the rest of February for free. Hop on board. Also, 9 straight winning days in basketball. We lowered that through the NBA Finals, and it does include March Madness. Everything, just $397. Love to have you for the ride. ParamountSports.com.
That sounds great, Lee. We'll be looking for Chris Stapleton to be tired and get through that national anthem as fast as we can. ParamountSports.com, 800-400-9741 to talk to Lee Sterling and get those plays in. Good luck on Sunday, Lee.
Thanks. You too. Take care.
That's Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. More Zone next from Radio Row in Phoenix.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Sorry you didn't have any friends.
I did not.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, heading up until 2 o'clock. We are here at Radio Row in Phoenix, leading into Super Bowl 57, and joining us now, a quarterback, familiar with Andy Reid.
Yes, indeed.
Donovan McNabb is our guest here in the Zone. Donovan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing outstanding. How's everything going here in Arizona? The sun's kind of beaming a little bit.
It's beautiful.
Yes, nice and chill. We got a little overcast, but as the day continues on, we'll warm it up for everyone who's coming in town from out of town.
Yeah, it has been a crazy week around here.
Yeah,
obviously with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and it's been an interesting last couple of weeks because all of the connections between the two organizations. I mean,
right.
From Mark Donovan to Andy Reid to Brett Veach to so many different people that have been a part of both organizations.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got a chance to go over there to see them yesterday at practice, and it felt like a reunion. Our head trainer Rick Burkholz was over there. I got a chance to see Brett Veach. I played with Eric Bieniemy, obviously the big red guy, drafted me and played under him for 11 seasons. Tom Melvin's over there. G. Lou was my receiver. The list goes on. But, again, it says a lot about what Andy's all about, of trying to maintain relationships and try to boost the opportunities for a lot of his coaches to become possibly head coaches or coordinators. So I'm just excited about this particular game, mainly because it's good to see the big red guy again. He's had so much success, and I think he's implanting himself as one of the best of all time to do it. And then obviously the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts and all those guys being able to accomplish great feats.
What is it that separates Andy, do you think, that makes him such a special coach, that he has been successful, and while being successful, so many people root for him?
Well, he's had a couple great quarterbacks to work under his tutelage. And I say that not to just throw my name in there, but, I mean, remember, he worked with Brett, came to Philadelphia and became a head coach, and I think he started something special in Philadelphia, which I've talked about this a while ago. Not too many free agents wanted to come to Philadelphia. And our first 3-4 years, we had a lot of free agents that were interested in coming to play for Andy Reid. The talent that we had, we were young, we were developing, we were maturing, but people understood the progress and the platform in which he was kind of displaying for us. So he built a juggernaut over a decade in Philadelphia, and that says a lot about him. And then going to another organization and doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And you can't really say too many coaches have had that opportunity, number one. Number two, coaches having the talent and drafting the talent to continue to perform at a high level each and every year. And then number three, how many coaches have been to 5 conference titles with 2 different organizations? I mean, that says a lot about what Andy Reid is all about. And then also his vision. The guy has obviously we know how big he is, but the vision of being able to build around the talent he has and create offense due to the strength of his quarterback and the main guys who have the ball in their hands.
Have you seen – Donovan McNabb is our guest. Have you seen his offense evolve over from when you were the quarterback to now?
I've been killing them the last 4 years. I'm like, why didn't we run that? What is that? Like, where'd you get that? Like, I still love it to this day, the do-si-do, where they're in the red zone and they kind of run around the circle and then disperse. I'm like, now, my offensive lineman would have loved that, because now they get a chance to feel like they're a skill guy, but you're still fat. And then, he shows love to the big guys, which you got to give him a lot of respect for.
Yeah, Donovan McNabb is our guest. So you didn't find that to be poor sportsmanship when they did the circle?
But people don't understand how the game has evolved. The game has evolved where, now everyone is involved, meaning, you got a lot of offensive linemen who were tight ends in high school who can catch. Mm-hmm. You have some receivers who, were running backs in high school. All of a sudden, you get jet sweeps, you put them in motion, you flip a ball to them, let them run. There's different ways of being creative, but still staying in the framework of the offense.
How much do you think that'll be a factor this weekend with the front 4/5 and how deep they go on the defensive line for the Eagles to be able to have that eye candy and to work sideline to sideline, not only goal line to goal line?
Well, the rotation is key for what Philadelphia presents. But I think he's smart enough to try to go with an up-tempo offense to kind of keep the guys out on the field and tire them out. But, again, from Philadelphia's standpoint, their rotation is strong because it doesn't matter who's going in at whatever time. It's not much of a drop-off. And so I think the challenge will be for Andy is continue to maintain the unawareness of what's going to happen next. Are you going to run the ball? Is it going to be a gadget play? Is it going to be a pass? Is Travis Kelce somewhere in the mix? Who's going to be the one that's going to be involved? And I think that's where it's going to be exciting to watch.
Do you have an emotional heartstring pull one way or another with Big Red, but also the Eagles organization and your friends over there with the Chiefs organization?
The emotional aspect of it is just, more to see him happy. I'm happy. He's happy. I'm great. I'm happy for Jalen Hurts in this opportunity, as well as the rest of the guys, Nick Sirianni. But it's for me, I'm just a fan now. Obviously being a Philadelphia Eagle and an alum, name and number in the Raptors, but I'm just a fan. I'm looking forward to just watching a great game.
Yeah, Donovan McNabb is our guest, and you got the Legends Party coming up tonight.
Have the Legends Party tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you're not doing anything, get off your couch, come on out, enjoy it, get some laughs, get a chance to see a lot of the NFL players, former NFL players coming out to have a good time. Come on out and party with us.
Who are the legends that'll be there?
We have Doug Flutie, we have Gronk, we've got Woodson. We'll have obviously myself.
Well, yes.
And then there'll be a lot more guys that will be a part of it. And Nelly's performing tonight, so
nice.
It's an opportunity to just kind of let your hair down a little bit. People are coming town.
Yeah.
Who try to figure out what they want to do next. They hear about all these names that are throwing parties. Come on out to the Legends Party, man. We'll make sure we kick-start this whole weekend off for you right.
Do you have a prediction? Do you have a feel for this game and a score in mind?
I go back and forth. A lot of it is due to, obviously, Patrick Mahomes' ankle and Jalen Hurts' shoulder. So I don't know, but I think on paper alone, and I'm not just saying that because I'm retired there, on paper right now, I think the Philadelphia Eagles probably have the advantage because of their balance, their team. But it's going to come down to some key factors, I think, more for the defense instead of so much offense with Patrick Mahomes, but more of the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right. So you have a pick?
I'm going to go with Philadelphia, obviously. But, again, it's going to be those factors I'll be watching throughout the course of the game for the defense of Kansas City.
We'll see what happens. Donovan McNabb, thank you for joining us, man. I
greatly appreciate it. You guys make sure you just kind of relax a little bit.
Yeah.
Relax. I know you hear it's stuffy all in the convention center, but just relax.
It's been a crazy week, man.
As Andy would say, I'll treat you to a cheeseburger.
Hey, you know what? I'll take it right now. I'll take it. Donovan McNabb joining us, hanging out with us here on Sports Radio 810 WHB live from Radio Row in Phoenix as we continue with our coverage presented by Blue Note Bourbon, ranked among the very best whiskeys worthy of your attention by Whiskey Advocate. Pick up some Blue Note Bourbon for the big game and all your occasions. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and we will talk with Mark Donovan, president of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get his thoughts on what this week has been like, last couple of weeks has been like for him, and the renderings with the NFL draft and the Super Bowl and everything else that's been going on around this Chiefs organization and the city of Kansas City. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
This is this guy has a rough luck with the mouth.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, heading up until 2 o'clock. Let's talk some Chiefs football with the president of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mark Donovan, joining us here in the Zone in Phoenix. Mark, how are you, sir?
I'm well, Jason. Thanks for having me on.
How's this week been for you?
It's been good. You know, it's been I've been trying not to say we're getting good at this because you got to be grateful every time you come here.
Mm-hmm.
But our team, our whole team, operational team, everybody else, I mean, we've done this enough now that we got a good feel for what's going to happen and how to do it. And our football team has that as well.
they've been pretty good. And we've got the draft coming up, so that's going on today with the announcement and the renderings. What did I know you guys have seen them before the rest of the public saw them. What was your first reaction to seeing the renderings of what the draft and Union Station will look like?
Well, we had a good idea of how big it was going to be, and I'm personally really excited that we're doing it at Union Station. I think it's going to be just a great picture for the world to see of Kansas City. But to see it live and actually, this is actually what it's going to be because we've seen a bunch of different versions. I think fans are going to hopefully feel for what we've been saying, that this will be the largest event that Kansas City's ever hosted. And they're going to see a structure that the league is going to build that is millions in the making. That is almost as large as the Union Station, attached to the Union Station.
Wow.
And then you're going to be able to use and highlight the World War I Museum. And I think it's just a great opportunity for Kansas City to show off a little bit.
Yeah, and looking forward to seeing what the theme is going to be because it'll be so Kansas City. And the talk before, and you know this, and living here for some 14, 15 years now, that very proud of our city. A lot of civic pride. And when our city is on the big stage, we want people to see how proud we are of how great the city is.
Yeah, I think the NFL is ready for the fact that the kingdom's coming. And they're going to show up. And this is an NFL event. It's not a Chiefs event, right? So I think they're trying to balance that. It's like, okay, if we get this much red, what are we going to do for the Packers and the Steelers and everyone else? So it'll be a great event and really looking forward to it. And, again, it's a great opportunity for Kansas City to be on an international stage.
Yeah, and you mentioned an NFL event. I've got buddies coming into town that are fans of different teams that are like, hey, we're going to be there. They've already got their plane ticket and schedule when they'll be there, so the house will be a little bit more filled with NFL fans, and things, not just Chiefs fans in the house, but it's cool because they're coming to our city and getting to experience it a little bit more. The lead up to the Super Bowl, this has been unreal, all of the connections with Philadelphia and the Eagles organization, and you being one of them.
Yeah.
What are your feelings like and emotions as we know once Philadelphia won, you wanted that matchup to be the Chiefs and the Eagles because that meant the Chiefs won. What are the emotions for you?
Yeah, I think that the biggest emotion, I think, is just respect. Some of my best friends in the National Football League are going to be on the other sideline. And obviously on the coaching side for us, a lot of those guys came from there. So appreciation for the opportunity. Jeffrey Lurie, Joe Banner, they gave me an opportunity to leave the league office and work for a club. I appreciate that, and it's put me in a position to be where I am today. One of my best friends in the National Football League is the president of the Philadelphia Eagles, Don Swinski. We literally worked together around each other for 20 years, and he and I stood next to each other on the field in Super Bowl in Jacksonville. So now we'll just be standing on different sidelines for this one. But it's above anything. Forget about the opponent. It's the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And when you've been in a few of these, you realize just how special it is to get to this point and how you need to take advantage of it because it's hard to get back.
We talked with Clark and some of the Chiefs players as well, kind of have this theme, it's felt like this week, that 2019 was unbelievable by winning the Lamar Hunt Trophy finally in 50 years and then winning the Super Bowl. The next year almost felt like, this is what we do. This is the Chiefs, it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Andy Reid. And then that Super Bowl game last year in the AFC Championship game, this one, it kind of has a feel of a little bit more of a an appreciation and a understanding maybe of just how difficult it is, that it's not just going to be the Chiefs are going to be there every year because it's Mahomes and Andy Reid. Do you have that same feeling of like this one, you understand the journey and how tough it is really to get here?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And I go back to that 2017, losing the Super Bowl is hard. Mm-hmm. And I think you don't appreciate winning the Super Bowl as much unless you've lost one. Mm-hmm. And then to win 19, that was so special. It was the first time the first time we'd handed the Lamar Hunt Trophy to the Hunt family. That's, if you do what I do and what Brett does and what Andy does, that's special. Mm-hmm. But I think you're exactly right. The appreciation's a little different, and it's not only appreciation, it's preparation. That experience I think is going to matter this weekend. Yeah. Not the experience of the head coach, experience of the quarterback, experience of a lot of key players. They've been here. They know what to expect. And I tell people a lot, you cannot prepare for the Super Bowl. There isn't a way you can say, okay, this is what it's going to be like. You have to experience it. Yeah. And the experience is very, very valuable.
Well, I went through and wanted to make a note of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 11 players on this Chiefs team that this is their third Super Bowl they'll be playing in. Yeah. I mean, you talk about experience, that's invaluable.
Invaluable.
With 3 times that they've been, this is the third time getting ready for a Super Bowl. Now, Tampa was a little bit different. Andrew Wiley said that kind of felt like just a road game. It didn't have that same feel of the year before. Yeah. That this one finally has that feel again. But still, you're getting ready to play in the biggest stage for the third time. It's invaluable, that experience that you have. And for the Chiefs to have that many players, that this is the third time. They've got 22 players overall that have played in a Super Bowl. Yeah. Even one that they had that at least on their side this weekend.
And I look at it from my side as well, that for the kingdom, this is special air. Like, no one's really done this. No one's ever hosted 5 straight. Mm-hmm. It's special times, and for our brand and the things we're doing off the field and things we're doing internationally, this is a huge platform, and it's our responsibility to take advantage of that.
Do you have a feel of like a score or anything for Sunday that you're thinking may happen?
I've been working with Andy Reid for almost 20 years, and I always stick to we want to be 1-0 this week. That's our goal. Let's be 1-0 this week.
1-0 this week. All right, last one for you. Cheesesteak or barbecue?
Wow. There's no question it's barbecue in my mind. Okay. That's an easy one for me.
It's an easy one. Mark Donovan, our guest, president of the Kansas City Chiefs. Mark, thank you so much for stopping by. I know you're very busy, and we appreciate you joining us and giving us a few minutes as we get ready for Super Bowl 57 and hopefully Super Bowl trophy number 2 for the Chiefs, or number 3 for the Chiefs, number 2 in this run for the Chiefs, and another parade coming up on Wednesday.
Look forward to it.
That is the hope. Thank you, Mark, so much.
Thank you.
There's
Appreciate having me, Don.
Mark Donovan joining us here in the Zone. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue. More Zone next.
You're in the Zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
This is a guy through the first 3 quarters of the game had a quarterback rating of, well, now I lost that.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, heading up until 2 o'clock. We are hanging out now with the president and CEO of the Kansas City Sports Commission. Kathy Nelson is with us. Kathy, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited.
Well, you guys just had the unveiling, an hour or so ago,
yes.
and they are absolutely beautiful. How excited have you been to finally make these things public?
Right. It's certainly a relaxed moment because we have been working, the NFL has been working so hard on these renderings, and there's so many exciting things ahead. And so for us to be able to show now the world of what it will potentially look like or what it should look like is certainly a great moment.
How long have you guys had these renderings or known what potentially they would look like, or were they revealed to you this morning like everybody else?
No, no, the NFL wouldn't do that. They're great. They have such great engineers working on this project, and this has been a complicated project for them. The parking lot in front needed to be fitted a little bit differently, and so the stage looks different than what they're normally used to in past NFL stages. And being able to really showcase what Union Station will look like inside of that stage as the backdrop was new to them. So we've certainly been brought up to speed, and we meet with them often. They're in Kansas City all the time.
Yeah. Will the fountain be on the entire time?
Yet to be determined.
Okay.
Yes.
Because the renderings have the fountain. It's so beautiful.
Well, of course. It's gorgeous.
So beautiful
yes.
there, and the renderings are absolutely gorgeous. As it's leading up and getting closer and closer, I remember talking to you as the World Cup bids were going through, and then before and after, we were rightfully awarded with all of the hard work you guys did for the World Cup. That stress sort of building into it. We're a few months away from the NFL draft being here. What's life like for you as these meetings and everything? And you've got a date, just like with the World Cup announcement. You got a date that everything has to be done by then. So what's life like for you right now, leading in specifically just even for the NFL draft, outside of everything else that's going to be going on?
Well, the draft will be the biggest event, at least I have ever worked on. I believe probably the biggest event for our city. And lots of meetings take place. I would tell you every day we are on either a phone call, a Zoom, or an in-person meeting. And the NFL has dozens and dozens, actually over 100 people that are working on the draft. So we certainly have different groups from legacy to sustainability to transportation to, of course, what the stage looks like. And then now what's coming to life is the theme. And what will that look like? So if you've noticed in past drafts, the theme of the city really plays into the draft. And now that's what the focus is. Coming out of the Super Bowl, we'll start to release some of that.
But you guys kind of have an idea of what the theme will be?
Yeah.
You don't want to.
No.
You don't want to release it right now. Breaking news from Kathy Nelson.
No, but there's certainly tweaks.
Will it be fountains?
No.
Will it be barbecue?
There's a little bit of everything Kansas City in there, and it's certainly not barbecue, just barbecue.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm going to keep.
I can tell you the flavor and the theme of Kansas City will come through in those 3 days very clearly.
Awesome. That's cool because there's so much civic pride.
Absolutely.
And when our city's on the grand stage, we want it to look beautiful. We want people to know how proud we are of the city.
Yes, there are so many great things happening, and I think that's who would have thought, and the NFL has joked with us, we've never worked with the city somebody that's planning anything, everything Super Bowl and the draft. So I feel like they feel our pressure and our excitement as well, and it's great. And, we've gotten to know them like family over these past 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Kathy Nelson is our guest. And so you've got that going on. The Big 12 tournament is also coming up, which is always so much fun. Is there boilerplate a little bit with that maybe you can focus on other things because that kind of that's been done so often, but I'm assuming that's not the case. But the Big 12 tournament is such a big deal for the region, for so many fans that are going to be coming here, and how good the Big 12 is this year in the conference. I mean, it could be a massive record number of fans in attendance.
Yes, and they're so good, both men's and women's.
Yes, yeah.
The women's games this year, it's like for KU and how great they're playing, it's unreal to think about what this tournament will look like. And this is our baby. The Big 12 is our Super Bowl every year in our city. So there's certainly not less attention paid right now towards that. We're complicated right now because of so many things happening, but I know that the Big 12 doesn't feel like they're second fiddle to us whatsoever. There's a new commissioner. We want to make sure he feels welcome and that he knows everything about our city. There's always a few new coaches. There's new athletic directors. So it's our time again to shine with them. And we have things in the works right now that we're kind of surprising them with about what's great about Kansas City and the flavor of Kansas City back to them. So we have staff, both at my sports commission and I run Visit KC. So on both staffs, people focused on Big 12.
So we've got the Big 12 tournament.
Right.
Midwest Regional.
We start with MIAA, men's and women's.
Well, I should know that as a Northwest Missouri State Bearcat.
And I'm in Northeast Missouri State.
So
Truman
State now, but back when it was Northeast. You're in Northeast Missouri State when you say Northeast. It's like those that are like.
I'm a bulldog. How about that?
Absolutely. We had Clay Harbor on the other day, and from The Bachelor, Bachelorette.
Yeah.
And he went to Southwest Missouri State, as he said. I went to Southwest Missouri State. I'm like, well, Missouri. I know you went there because it's now Missouri State. I can tell, when people went to the real.
Yes.
Went to the real
or we
one.
just say Warrensburg.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly right. Yes, Warrensburg. That's right. But so that's going on. Big 12 tournament, Midwest Regional.
Yes, a Midwest Regional in its own right is a lot of work. I mean, that's one thing. Kansas City was the fastest city to sell out for a regional this year, which, kind of feel like we should be.
Yeah.
But this year, of course, with all the schools playing so well, we sold out so quick for that. But that doesn't mean it's any easier to plan that.
Yeah,
There's a lot of complication that comes with a regional planning.
So that's March, late March, and then...
And we have NAI Men's Championship.
April draft. Do you take a deep breath early May of just like, okay,
Not
all right,
just
can I take a few days off with all of these event after event after event? Because it's amazing that our city gets to be on display, week after week. It feels like, but there's got to be some time for you to just sit back and relax and go, okay, let me take 2 days off.
It's a great time. It's a weird time, but it's a great time. The first part of May, we are welcoming the Sports ETA National Convention, which is the Sports Events and Tourism Association, first time ever in Kansas City.
Of course.
It was supposed to be here in 2020 when the pandemic hit. We moved it to 23 thinking, we could do this. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, we'll be welcoming thousands of people from across the world to our city to showcase how great we can host sports. So I'm like, everyone catch their breath.
I feel like we're doing a pretty good job of showcasing that, right?
Yes. And then a week after that, we own the Kansas City Triathlon. So our staff is working on the triathlon. And then we roll right into our month of camp. So we do girls sports camps for the month of June. So we catch our breath on Sunday morning.
Roughly. By the way, our 810 Facebook page has all of these events that are going on that the Kansas City Sports Commission has been putting together and working so hard on. Kathy Nelson, our guest president and CEO of that. And then we get, the World Cup in a few years. Like this is, it's unbelievable what and the airport's getting done.
Yes.
So it's just, what the city will look like in a few years is just, the process is great to see it happen and you want to experience everything, but there's almost like I can't wait to see what it looks like when everything is completed and we know what the draft was like and the fingers crossed parade coming up this week. So it's amazing what's going on right now.
Our friends at the NFL on the event side have been fantastic. They're like, oh my gosh, Kathy, we've never worked with a city where you're planning, because we're in charge of planning the parade on behalf of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're also planning the draft. We're like, this is fantastic for them because they will, following a victory, they'll come to Kansas City Monday with me and then be there with us for those few days leading into the parade and then day of parade to make sure, what can they learn from the parade that they can use for the draft. So, yeah, it's one of those. And then our friends from FIFA are here with us in Phoenix.
Wow.
So they are here. We have meetings with them all day Saturday to work through what does a big event look like? What do they see from the event that we need to be thinking about in Kansas City?
Okay.
So everything's starting to overlap, which is very unique and bizarre.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there, we've had some people that are superstitious that have texted in and said, please stop talking about a parade because, and I told them there's nothing that anybody behind the scenes is doing that will affect the game whatsoever. Right. But you guys have to you can't wait till the game's over and say, let's throw this thing together. Let's figure out this massive event that 1 million people will come to in this on this street. and let's figure it out. Like, you guys have to have these things ready to go and planned out, routes and times and everything, and street closures and all of that, and patterns and traffic patterns and everything.
Right. I mean, what we focus on, again, with the mayor and the city manager's help, is safety and security first. That doesn't happen in 24 hours. And I would tell you, any city that makes it to the playoffs is talking about what do they do to celebrate the Super Bowl victory. And shame on them if they're not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? We want to have the best face forward with that, and it doesn't happen in 24 hours. There's no doubt. And yes, of course, we're very superstitious as well and very protective of that. But you want Clark to be proud of our city, and you can't throw it together.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like, we got to do something grand for them, and that takes planning.
Does it help that, we had one just a few years ago?
It does.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, so you just turn the on button, and I'm like, or the easy button back on. I'm like, not exactly. Yeah, there are certain things we learned. We learned from planning the 2015 World Series parade and what we did for 2020. We've learned what works, what doesn't work, and we'll use that again. But there are different people in roles. A few years later, we have to still educate. There are new police officers. There's new general managers of hotels. We have to educate all of them. So even though we think we know what we're doing, nobody else is informed yet. And so we've been working through that the last few weeks.
Kathy Nelson, President and CEO of the Kansas City Sports Commission. Kathy, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. I know busy times continue for you, but it's stressful, but it's got to be a blast.
Oh, I mean, how surreal that all of you are sitting here with us. We were coming already to promote the draft. And now our team is in the Super Bowl. Awesome. I get emotional thinking about how great this is.
It's been a really fun week.
Yes.
It is so much more enjoyable this week than it was last week.
Yeah.
Last year.
I
will tell you, being here last year in LA was not nearly as much fun as it is right now. Looking at the Chiefs helmet up there.
Yes.
A much better feeling than seeing that striped Tiger Bengal helmet from last year. That's thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Enjoy everything that's going on, game, and let's hope parade, and after that, just so much fun and busyness in our city being put on display, and because of the great work you guys do behind the scenes that people don't get to see, and we get to experience it and appreciate it, but we don't see it behind the scenes and really know all the work that goes in. So, and of course, the World Cup bid was just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I hope everyone just soaks this in.
Yeah.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing that all of these are aligning. So soak it in. Enjoy it. You're doing a fantastic job, and we've got to continue to promote our city.
That's exactly right. Kathy Nelson, President and CEO of the Kansas City Sports Commission. Kathy, thank you so much for stopping by. Had a blast, and such a fun time to be at Kansas City. And
yes, it is.
We will take a time out. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling live out at Radio Row in Phoenix. More Zone right after this.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I do want to weigh in on this, too, as all joking aside. Those were jokes. Didn't result in laughs, but it was an attempt.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We are hanging out at the Super Bowl in Phoenix, and just guest after guest after guest, and very pleased to sit down and talk with an incredibly talented individual that people around KC know. Rob Riggle is with us here. Rob, what's up, man?
Hello. I got Super Bowl fever, man.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
This week has been nuts.
It's so cool when you come out to Radio Row, too, and you see the energy and you feel the size of this thing.
Yeah.
I just walked by a couple tables and, French, Spanish, every language in the world is being spoken here. I mean, this place, it's for those who wonder what it's like, imagine I don't know, is Bartle Hall still going on? What do we got going on down in Kansas City? Imagine the biggest arena, T-Mobile, whatever, just full of press. I mean, there's thousands of people here right now. It's awesome.
It was great. Earlier, fake Andy Reid was walking around, and I told the guys, it was like a magnet of people that looked over and just started walking towards him that thought it was Andy Reid.
Yeah.
That thought Andy Reid on Friday of Super Bowl week was just going to be walking around Radio Row and just jumping on different
unsupervised, just walking around.
Yeah, just hanging out. He's got the walk down and everything. I mean, so people were just all walking. And I'm like, how many producers are going to go, hey, Andy, do you have some time to come over and
that's one of my favorite things when I watch a Chiefs game on television. They pan the crowd, and there's 25 different Andy Reid lookalikes out there, all dressed up with the headset, everything, and they all look identical. It's almost like how Saddam Hussein had all those body doubles. I'm just saying, Andy takes a lot of precautions.
Yes, he does. He does. Rob Riggle's our guest. Playing around with Rob Riggle, PXG.
PXG, yeah. It was a really fun little series that I did with PXG. Where I just got to play golf with really fun, cool people that I like.
What a terrible job.
Right? And it was a blast, and I'm really grateful to PXG for doing it.
Yeah.
And the thing about being in Arizona, all these athletes, you're seeing all these athletes, they're all out here playing golf right now. And we got the Phoenix Open going on this week.
It's crazy.
I mean, golf is it really is a universal thing. And I try to get out and play as much as I possibly can.
One of the last times we talked to you was in Tahoe when you had the back injury.
Oh.
And you tried to play through that. Why is it you couldn't play golf with a back injury? But Kelsey plays a football game with a back injury. What's that all about,
I
Rob?
did play, sir.
Well, I mean, you didn't play but you
finish. I did finish.
The
sad thing is,
you were a trooper. You made it.
I played all
round.
3 rounds with a back injury, and did the exact same as I would have without an injury.
Is that a good or bad thing?
I don't know. It's probably bad. It's probably showed me I didn't have to overswing. But yeah. So anyway, again.
Feeling good? Is the back okay?
The back's good. I've been playing. I've been trying to get out to play a little bit. Got some new golf balls. I love that. PXG's got golf balls now. Did you know that?
There you go.
PXG's got golf balls, dude. They came out this week. They're awesome.
They're very cool.
So that makes life a little easier. That helps. And then the clubs always help. They're more forgiving. So
it helps out. You don't
even if it's psychological, even if it's a placebo effect, I'll still I'll take it.
That's absolutely true.
Because the game is between the ears.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not good.
That's why I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, that's why I suck at
awful.
golf.
It's terrible. I thought it was all in the wrists and the hips, but no, it's between the ears.
It's between the ears. When someone said that to me, I said, "Oh God, that's it for me."
Can I try hockey? Maybe that's better.
Yeah. Or that slap fighting thing they do now. That's what my head's good for.
You get a slap fight. It's great. Are you going to be at the game on Sunday? You're staying for the game? Oh,
I am. I'm going to be at the Super Bowl. I was bummed I couldn't be at the AFC Championship. I wanted to be there, but I had to work. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So I was shooting an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, and
awesome.
And that was a lot of fun.
Was it pretty good one?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's a fun one for sure.
I love it.
And so yeah, I'm here for the Super Bowl. I'm here to root on my Chiefs.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. This is the, I don't want to say this is the zenith of my life, but my sports life.
Yeah.
I've waited my whole life. My first Chiefs game was 1975.
Amazing.
And now we, all those years of waiting, and then Miami. I was at the Miami Super Bowl.
Yep, we were there.
It was glorious. I'm here for this one. It's going to be glorious.
Yeah.
I'm just excited for the team. And then Mahomes, MVP.
2-time MVP now.
I mean, he deserved it. He had a magical season. He did amazing stuff. I'm so proud of the team. I'm proud of how hard they work. I'm proud they don't take anything for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And they're out there to earn it and win it. And it's going to make for a heck of a victory parade.
The celebrities of the two organizations. Do you think the Chiefs have the advantage on the celebrity fans?
Yeah, it's a walk away.
I mean, it's
a walk off. You got Rudd, you got Stone Street, you got Sudeikis, Keckner, you got Heidi Gardner, you got myself, you got Kat McNamara, you got David Dismulchin, you got just go to Randy Flagler, go down the list of Melissa Etheridge, Dr. Phil.
Henry Winkler now.
Henry Winkler, the Fonz is on board. Listen, there's plenty of room on this Chiefs bandwagon.
Join us.
Yeah, please. I've been putting out the vibe to all the people that come in for Big Slick, and they're all like, we're all about it, Ringo. We're wearing our Chiefs red. So I was like, God bless you.
Yeah,
God bless
that is awesome. And it's easy now to be a Chiefs fan.
It's
great, man.
It really is. They're a fun team to watch. They got great personality. They're all young and hungry and exciting to watch, and they bring it. They got the magic.
And the best player in the league and the MVP in the face of the franchise plays for our team.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's the best. It's such a victory for small market teams, and Kansas City deserves this. It really does. We deserve this. We don't have a small town mindset, which I love about Kansas City. Kansas City expects to win. We like to win. We're fond of it. We have a winning tradition. Royals, Chiefs, Sporting KC. That's what we're about, and I love it. I love that mindset because that's what breeds winning.
John Sherman, who was introduced as the newest Royals owner, said, "Kansas City, we punch above our weight."
Yeah,
and I love that line.
I love it, and it's true. I love it. We are competitive, and we're true blue. Our fans are true.
Yeah.
Even in the lean years. When I was on Fox NFL, I remember we went 2-14. The Chiefs went 2-14. I still picked them every single week. I'm not going to not pick them.
But you were right twice.
Exactly. And the thing is, they'll ask me every year, Rob, who do you think is going to win this? You know the answer. It's going to be the Chiefs.
Right.
Doesn't matter. I'm always going to pick the Chiefs because that's my team.
Yeah.
I live and die with them.
That's awesome.
Their success is my success. Their failure is my failure. I mean, granted, I'm not on the roster technically.
Well, technically.
But I think every Chiefs fan feels like they're kind of on the roster.
I mean, the emotions, the highs, the lows.
Yeah.
I mean, you're living it.
Yeah.
And it's such a part of the fabric of the community. With these sports teams, it is fantastic. So, let's hope that you guys are enjoying yourself on Sunday. And then, would you? Not to jinx it, I know that people are maybe superstitious or a little stitious.
Yeah.
Would you be back for the parade on Wednesday if we have the parade on Wednesday with the Chiefs if they win?
100%.
Look at you. Awesome. Got to get you on stage,
That's a lock.
Got to get you on stage, too. And all of our celebrity fans to show that, not only do we punch above our weight, we'll hold our own against anybody. Anybody. You throw whatever it is. Throw it out there. We've got it.
Bring it.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yes. We've got you. We've got Ted Lasso. We got Ant-Man.
Oh.
I mean, come on, man.
I mean, it's truly awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to a man and a lady, we all love our hometown. We love it, and that's why we come home and we do things like the Big Slick, and we come home and take part in whatever we can.
My wife and I moved into our neighborhood, and we found out like right around the corner, we meet this family, and he's like, yeah, my name's Ty. I'm like, oh yeah, very nice to meet you, Ty Gardner. He's like, my sister's Heidi. I'm like, your sister's Heidi Gardner. I don't care about you anymore.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Tell
about
me
your
more
sister.
about Heidi.
Let's talk any way that is she ever over at your house? I just felt like Henry Winkler with rich eyes. Hi, Patrick. How are you? Yeah. Hello. Heidi. Hello. When's she going to be over here? Will she be in the neighborhood anytime soon? Does she want to come on my radio show?
How awesome is that, too? And I love the fact that Kansas City, we've always had a great sense of humor. We've always had a lot of funny people. We've always had a lot of talent. And now the world is starting to notice.
Absolutely. They definitely are. Do you have a score in mind for Sunday?
Yeah. Look, I know the Eagles are favored by, last I saw, it was 1.5 points.
1.5, yeah.
So I think it's safe to say the final on this one is going to be It's going to be 34-27.
34-27.
Chiefs.
I like it. Well, I mean, of course.
Of course. Yeah, that's
34-27.
silly.
I didn't even
I just
write it
wanted,
right
for
down.
the record, I wanted it to be real clear.
On the record, okay? Because I say 34-27, another team wins, and no, I picked the Chiefs.
And 27 is me being generous. I think it's more like 34-20, but I'm just going to put it out because it is Super Bowl, so they'll be playing out of their minds.
Yeah, well, we'll see what ends up happening. Rob, thank you for stopping by, man.
Awesome.
And always fun to talk with you. Have a blast this week. Have a blast at the game.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we will see you on Wednesday.
Absolutely. Go Chiefs.
There you go. Rob Riggle joining us here in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More right after this. We'll hang out with Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest. We'll talk some Chiefs and Eagles. We will break down the X's and O's. We'll get into the conversation about the danged game. We'll do that next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You guys have been doing a lot of agreeing. Can I disagree with something?
Please, go ahead. Yes,
Lay it on us, and then we
do
will double team you.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. We're hanging out in Phoenix leading up to Super Bowl 57. Our coverage presented by Dream Lawn. Dream Lawn is here to disrupt the lawn care industry. At Dream Lawn, their products are all natural and help your lawn thrive. Professional golf courses, baseball stadiums, and acres of farmland are all making the change to Dream Lawn. Go to dreamlawn.com and learn about the difference. Thank you to Rob Riggle joining us in the previous segment, and Mark Donovan and Kathy Nelson and all the different guests we've had on this week. And excited to talk and sit down and just discuss the game with Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, hanging out with us here on Radio Row. Matt, what's up, man?
I was looking forward to talking about food. And,
dang it.
You know. But if you want to talk about football, the game, okay.
I feel like the other things have been exhausted. We've done a lot of that. And Josh and I were talking that it's like, you know, we haven't had enough time to really get into discussing the game and talking about, you know, the breakdown of this game coming up on Sunday. And I am pumped to have you on and talk about it. And I just
Jason, since Matt mentioned food, I would like to just hop in and say a quick thanks to our friends over at Johnny's Tavern for bringing pizza for us here on our Red Friday. It is delicious. It is so exciting.
Okay so far.
It is keeping Beards like centered emotionally right now. My blood sugar is stabilized. My mood is stabilized, which is something that you can only get from Johnny's Tavern. Matt Derrick, your thoughts?
My thought is that I don't have any Johnny's Tavern pizza in front of me right now.
I am with you.
And
shouldn't have gone to Radio Row.
All I do is come on this show, and Josh Brisco is eating food that I can't have.
Yeah.
He's at Atomic Cowboy and Denver Biscuit Company. He's eating pizza.
Yeah,
what are you going to do next week, Josh?
Let me
when
tell
I'm back
you,
in Kansas City. You're
they're
probably
very
going to be
good.
on remote at some barbecue place.
And not invite you.
And not invite me.
I will just go to Johnny's if that's okay.
We don't have any food. That's the thing is, I haven't eaten lunch one time this week.
I see a donut and
That
a
was
piece of
earlier
bread
today.
and a half a muffin.
Yeah, that was
and
earlier.
if that came from where I think it did, I'm not allowed to have that because it's only for the talent.
Where did it come from?
I
It
don't
was
know.
from upstairs in the media room.
Oh, was that the media room? Okay,
It was
I'm
just
allowed
in the-
that.
Yeah,
There's
you-
apparently
you-
another room down here.
Oh, really?
That is only for the talent. Now, I wasn't trying to get any food. Somebody else was, and they were told, oh, no, this is for the talent.
We were, I think, Corey was at the Combine a number of years ago. His favorite city is Indianapolis, so he wanted to go to the Combine. So he was at the Combine, and he thought like all of these Danishes and that were out, and some nice breakfast stuff. And he goes over there and he grabs a couple and takes it back to his seat, some coffee and everything, and not thinking it's a big deal. A little bit later, a couple of hours later, goes over there and grabs another small thing to eat, some pastries or whatever. And he said about an hour later, there was a sign that said, for like NFL Network only. And he was like, apparently they did not like me going. I didn't know. People were going over there and eating it. And turns out it was the people with NFL Network that were going over and eating it. So
There's
you should
always
just,
a reason for a sign.
just walk up and just grab it. Just
There
grab
you
it.
go.
Act like you're supposed to be there.
There you go.
Unlike me, that I tried to get onto the red carpet of the honors yesterday, and just
Crashing the red carpet.
swiped my.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah, I know my media pass. It's got this barcode on it that you swipe on the little digital thing, and it did not go through. And they're like, "Well, where's your honors pass?" I'm like, "Huh? What's that?" Like, "Well, you got to sign up for the honors." I'm like, I know, but I didn't know that it was like.
I know that, but I didn't know I had to do it.
I know, but so you guys have this thing really locked down. Good for you. All right, well, see ya. I'll take a picture from above. I'll go upstairs and take a picture of the red carpet.
That's the funny part. Yes, yes.
Then I posted on Twitter. It's like, hey, there's the red carpet. I'm not down there.
You can be in the balcony.
Yes,
but you can't be.
Yes, you can't be down
on the level.
Yes, that's right. Matt Derrick is our guest. Okay, so. Are you concerned at all about, Snead's knee or some of the sickness, the bugs that are going through the Chiefs right now?
Nah, not really. It sounds to me from talking to some of the players and coaches that a lot of what you're hearing about the cold and the sniffles and everything, a lot of it's allergies and treating it. And honestly, I mean, the same thing happened in Miami. I mean, it kind of happens. I mean,
So you're saying that's a good sign?
I guess that's a good sign, but I think we're going to find, and obviously 2020 COVID Super Bowl was a little bit different, so I wasn't there for that and get to know it. But my experience now covering all these Super Bowls for the Chiefs, I think everybody gets sick every year because you're coming to the convention centers, you're going to strange cities. It is, I've been congested all week because of the dry air and the pollen that I'm not used to and everything. Mm-hmm. I have zero concerns about that. I don't think it's going to affect anybody. Snead's injury is jarring, I think is probably the better word than problematic. Doesn't appear like it's any concern. L'Jarius, bless his heart, has been banged up all year. And you're probably just going to have to accept that from the way that he plays, because this year he's had he had the knee earlier this year, he's had the hip, he's had the calf, concussion protocol, and when you play as physically and as hard as L'Jarius does, that's going to happen. So, but no, I haven't heard from anybody who's told me that it's serious. That it shouldn't be a big deal. Expects to play. Let's see what happens today on the injury report.
Yeah.
As long as if he is listed as limited and he's questionable, I'll have zero concerns about him playing.
Juju was full practice. Kadarius Toney full practice.
Great sign.
So it was so close to being like, all right, everything looks and feels good, but L'Jarius Sneed not showing up on Wednesday and then limited on Thursday. You wonder, okay, did something happen on Wednesday? Was it just maybe a little swelling that came in? That, those things happen when you've played now 20 games or going into game number 20 on the season. But let's talk about the good news then of the injury report with Juju and Kadarius Toney being full participants.
Yeah, very good news. The Juju part surprised me. I thought he would be a lot more of a game-time decision, but it's looking like pretty promising for him. Chiefs took it a little bit easier with Toney, and even though I think that he was probably further ahead than Juju was, he was certainly last week was further ahead than Juju was, but, two different injuries. I think what we're talking about with Juju, we've talked about a lot of years and miles on those tires and those knees. He has told us that. He's going to have some issues pop up. The hamstring, ankle, that's a little bit more difficult for Toney. And that hamstring is probably not going to settle down to the offseason. It's just going to be something that's going to bother him all the way. So it made sense that the Chiefs babied that, didn't, pushing too hard. As I've said, I made this comparison earlier this week. To me, Kadarius Toney right now is a 2010 Maserati. It can go out there. It can go from 0 to 60 in the blink of an eye. It can move. It can accelerate and do all those things. But you know what? You're gonna gun it up to 80 at some point, and it's gonna end up in the shop. And that's what he is this year. I'm not saying that for the future. I'm just saying right now, he's just a high-end sports car that you just don't know when it's not going to be there. And that's fine, because the Chiefs don't need him to play 70 snaps. They need him to play like maybe 20, 25, get a couple of touches, be a decoy. Slow down that pass rush. That's all you need from him.
Here's my concern, and I guess it's a little bit of a fear from what we saw take place in that Bengals game. Is McCole Hardman went out there and played, and gamer gave it all he had. Wanted to go out there and play and was working hard. Obviously, was not fully healthy because he takes a hit and he's now done for the year. So. Great, I get it. He was working hard, and probably the last time we'll see McCole Hardman in a Chiefs uniform. What I don't want to have happen is Kadarius Toney or Juju Smith-Schuster, a gamer, and do whatever they can just to be out there, and you activate them because it means so much to them, and they've been working hard, but are they healthy enough to take a hit or two, and now they're out of the game, and instead of just saying, you know what, it's got to be a scratch, we got to go with somebody else to activate, you're in a situation close to what you were last week when you're going down the depth chart of guys. I know Watson was sick, but was he sick enough to where he couldn't have been activated on Sunday as opposed to, no, we've got these other guys healthy, let's get them out there. They certainly could have used Justin Watson, and that's a fear is Juju's, playing. Kadarius Toney's playing. Oh, he stepped wrong on that ankle, re-injured it, he's done. Juju, knee swelling up, he's done, and now you're in the same situation against that Eagles defense that you were last week against the Bengals.
Is it possible? Yeah, it is. And the Chiefs, the problem, and you're kind of getting to it, is that at a couple of spots the Chiefs don't have a ton of options, and really it's that role that McCole Hardman has typically played, Tyreek Hill has typically played, Without Hardman, okay, Tony is really your guy that plays that. Tony goes down. You saw against the Bengals. Don't really have anybody else really built designed for that role. I mean, Sky Moore might be able to be that kind of guy one time, but hasn't been a role that he's been prepped for and part of the game plan for. Maybe they will try and squeeze that a little bit more into him this week just to, cover their bases. I would imagine, Marcus Kemp's probably going to be up again for special teams and to be an extra receiver. Chiefs have some options. I mean, but you're right. I mean, they're not great options. They're not what you're comfortable with. But then again, they won the game, Jason, so what are you complaining about? Why are you worried about depth when they won the freaking game with 3 wide receivers?
They did. How good was the offense, though, once those guys started to go out? That is kind of the concern that, okay, they did struggle at times to move the football.
And I haven't had a chance to talk to each of those guys specifically about it this week, but my guess is that for both of them, and Juju was probably the exception. And now Juju came in and tried to give it a go for a couple of snaps and wasn't comfortable with it. So he might have been the exception. But Tony, maybe even Hardman, if they were playing in this game, versus the AC Championship game, what are you saving yourself for? You got, and that's. And now that's easy for me to say because I'm not the one playing, putting my body out there. But I know these guys, and they would absolutely say, I don't have to practice tomorrow. I don't got to worry about anything next week. We're going to leave it on the field today. I got 5 months to recover.
Yeah. The concern I have for Kadarius Toney's ankle is, if you re-injure it, there's nothing he can do. Like, at that point, you're like, I want to go out there and play, but I can't, because it's swelling or whatever in a different position than quarterback like Patrick Mahomes was able to get through. He's so violent in his cuts. Like
it would limit him, absolutely.
His foot, when he plants his foot, it's like he's trying to kick the dirt, like to kick a hole into the dirt when he plants. He's just so violent in that which is why, that ankle gives a little bit and it rolls pretty big because he's cutting so hard. That's the concern I have is because he's so quick. He's so dynamic in that way. But I don't want to watch the game with, a fear of this guy getting injured. I just simply want to watch the game and see what happens. So I don't think he would be a full participant if they didn't feel like that ankle was fully healthy and ready to go.
Correct.
Yeah. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Matt Derrick is our guest. So with that being the case and the way they played against the Bengals and what we've seen in some breakdowns of Eagles defenses against different offenses, do you think we'll see some 12 personnel, some 13 personnel that will be game plan, not it's necessity, game plan, it's a plan, not a necessity?
Yeah. I think there's probability of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's probability of that. We'll probably learn a lot about, you'll get your first indications, mid-afternoon when the active list comes out. Chiefs are carrying 4 active tight ends, then I'll know that they've got a few things planned. They got they're going to run the football. They're going to run a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. If Blake Bell's not active, then that probably tells us that they'll probably run a little more 11 and 12. We'll see. But I think that'll be the first indication. But what I don't know what the Chiefs are going to do. The only thing I know the Chiefs are going to do is Andy Reid's going to do something you're not expecting him to do, because he knows and gets that the biggest weapon that a coach has is the element of surprise, and he's trying to come up with a game plan that the Eagles aren't ready for.
Yeah.
And I trust Andy Reid that he's going to do that. And then so what we're expecting him to do might not be what Andy Reid does.
So then, visiting with Matt Derrick, what's your concern level with the offensive line against the Eagles front?
Not much. I mean, and maybe part of that's just because the last time in this game against Tampa Bay, the offensive line was such a concern. But right now, it's relatively healthy. I mean, Trey Smith's the only guy on the injury report. The ankle's been bothering him for a while, but it has not affected him.
Yeah,
he's still Trey Smith out there.
The full participant.
Offensive line is as healthy as it can get, and I think they understand the challenge. I think they get it, and I think that other than Hassan Reddick, I think they match up pretty well against this Eagles defense. I mean, the Eagles have a really good interior line, but you know what? Chiefs have a really good interior line. That's the strength of that line. So I'm not really concerned about the middle breaking down. The edges are going to be the problem. So what do? I mean, you're doing the things we're talking about. Multiple tight ends will help that. If you're able to get Kadarius Toney in the game, so you're putting a lot of guys in motion, and you're moving the guys around pre-snap, and those orbits, all those things slow down an offensive line. Maybe a few more RPOs this week. Who knows? You can do some things to help out the guys on the edges. So to me, I think it's a decent matchup. They're tough, but I think the Chiefs can handle this.
I know you just got through saying that Andy Reid's probably going to do something that you don't necessarily expect him to do. The Eagles front and how good they are. I just keep thinking back to the 49ers and the defensive player of the year crowned last night was put in a spin cycle for most of that game. And where's the guy? Where's he at? Where's that guy at? Oh, he just ran by me. What the heck just took place? That's what I'm imagining with these defensive ends that are so good and can get up the field and get after the quarterback, that he was able to, not eliminate, but he was able to really neutralize the impact Bosa had on that game against the 49ers. And he's already shown he can do that. And it's not just, all right, Wiley, one-on-one, go get him. Orlando, one-on-one, go get him. We need you just to do your job because this is what we do. That's what I'm imagining in my head of these defensive ends where the guy goes right by him, or Jerick McKinnon's coming to block and then slips out, and it's a screen pass that they're going down the field now.
I have the voice of my dear friend Nick Jacobs in my head right now, and just talking about what does Andy Reid do when he's got a stud defender on the other side of the football, wherever it may be, cornerback, linebacker, defensive line, where is it? He goes right at him. That's the way you deal with the bully. That's the way you don't avoid them. You take the play right at him, because if you do that and you're able to eliminate them, who's going to stop you? And that was absolutely what they did against Bosa, and they've done it against other teams too. And to me, like I said, it doesn't matter whether it's run or pass or what your concept is. Remember, what was it, Monday Night Football? And, the Chiefs can't beat the Ravens when Andy Reid first got here. Here's Ray Lewis over there. What's he do? Just runs the football right at him all night long. Runs over him. That's what Andy Reid does. So, once again, that goes back to what is he going to do? He's going to do what you don't expect him to. And if the Eagles' defensive game plan is built around, hey, we're going to make so-and-so, whether it's Reddick or somebody else, this is who's the guy who's going to wreck it. This is the key player of the game, just like L'Jarius Sneed was going to be the key player against the Bengals and goes down. If they built a game plan around that and you take that guy out, what are they going to do?
Yeah. We'll see what ends up happening. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back hanging out with Matt Derrick. I want to flip the side of the football we're talking about, look at the defensive side against the Eagles, and also get some predictions as well, because we're going to talk with Louis Riddick coming up at the end of this hour. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
That's a clown take, bro.
On Sports Radio 810.
We continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Our coverage presented by Twin Peaks, America's favorite sport. Crowns a champ on February 12th. Show up early, cash out quarterly. The first 100 guests qualify for the Squares Board. Watch the game at Twin Peaks. Let's talk defense against the Eagles' offense. What are you thinking Spags will do? The assumption is, if all else fails, flip a coin. Heads, let's blitz. Tails, let's bring more people.
It's the exact opposite of what we're talking about on the other side of the football. Because whereas Andy Reid, to me, is the type who is going to try and surprise you, Steve Spagnuolo is going to stick with what he does that works. And what does Steve Spagnuolo typically do against a quarterback like Jalen Hurts? he forces him to beat him. You keep him in the pocket. You make sure he can't run, especially since the shoulder is questionable.
Yeah.
You don't let him use those legs. You don't let him get outside the pocket. You don't let him escape. You force him to stay in there. You force him to do what he does, which is hold on to the football, and you try and force mistakes. And that has done and held Steve Spagnuolo very well against mobile quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
It works against Lamar Jackson. It has worked against Kyler Murray. It's worked against a lot of guys. And, and certainly with – and, hey, the Eagles are really kind of avoiding the subject of Hurts' shoulder and how it is and how healthy he is. I get he's practicing through it, so he's not on the injury report and everything. Maybe he's not getting any treatment. Maybe it's great. I don't know. But I know when there's not a lot of transparency, I got some questions. So if I'm the Chiefs, I'm thinking, that shoulder might not be great. Let's just make him throw it. Let's make him beat us. Let's put L'Jarius on, where we think we need him most, and let's go after him with 4. Maybe bring an extra guy on do it on 3rd down for sure. But other than that, just don't make sure that Jalen Hurts does not beat you with his feet, because that's the only part of him that's healthy right now.
I'm glad that we were able to talk with Ron Jaworski yesterday, who does Eagles games all year. And so I asked him, I said, look, is it overblown, or did you see a difference between Jalen Hurts before the injury and after the injury? And he goes, oh, no, it's different. He's not the same. He had pointed out a couple of plays against the 49ers, and he'd said that, he had A.J. Brown down the field, and he goes, I've made that throw thousands of times. You put a certain amount of loft on it. You put it out there, the guy runs underneath it, and you make the play. And he goes, Jalen threw it lower, and he goes, and the ball just died. It just died, and he underthrew him, and A.J. Brown was wide open. And he said, and then there was another play, and I don't remember which play he was talking about. He explained it, and he goes, and Jalen threw it, and the ball just died as he threw it. He goes, it's different. That shoulder is not healthy with Jalen Hurts, and he's missing on throws that he would not have missed on before the injury. So that's somebody who's been around him a lot and has seen it, and so I will certainly he's seen every throw that Jalen Hurts has made. I'll take his word for it that he's like, yeah, it's different. He even said on a couple of throws he winced. I saw him wince on a throw or two. Like, that thing's not healthy right now.
Yeah,
so
and rest isn't going to help that. I mean,
surgery
will help that. Yeah.
So, and just as I know it was the other shoulder, but Herbert, season's over, has shoulder surgery. We know what he was battling with most of the year. So, I don't know. Maybe he comes out and is fully healthy, but I'm with you. I think first and foremost, it'll be maybe run blitzes, whatever it might be, stop the run, which to me puts an emphasis on tackling that we talked about with the Bengals, but it also puts an emphasis on Nick Bolton and Willie Gay.
Yes.
Like, they have to play really well.
Huge.
Right reads and make the tackle.
Yeah. There's a couple of parts to this, the game plan and everything. And certainly one of them is the Chiefs defense, let's face it, has typically been its best when it's a little bit of bend, don't break. That's generally been where when they play well, they do that, and you're stopping people in the red zone. This is not a team you want to try and stop in the red zone. This is a team you want to make sure they don't get in the red zone. Because if they get inside the 20, they get inside the 10, they're scoring because they can run the football. They can pound it right at you. Doesn't matter. They can do that. The Chiefs, we talk about them. Even though, a friend of mine pointed out last night, they average like the exact same yards per carry. They get there in very different ways.
Yeah.
And do it very differently. And so that's why, the Chiefs can't do that. They're not going to be able to pound the ball. When they get to the 19, they're going to throw it. That's what they do. But the Eagles get close to the goal line, they can pound it in. You just got to make sure they don't get close to the goal line.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt Derrick is our guest, Chiefs Digest. I guess we're going to talk with Louis Riddick here in a little bit, so prediction time. What do you think happens in the game? And if you've got a score for us, I'm going to guess that your prediction is the Eagles have easily the best roster between the two. They are balanced. It's actually the greatest 2 through 53 I've ever seen in my life. But the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. And when you've got Patrick Mahomes, I don't know. But I'm going to go with the Eagles because the roster is just so much better than anything we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. I think that's your take, right? Or am I just getting everybody else's take confused?
That sounds like everybody else's take, and I'm not going to argue with the take. You can. That is a compelling argument. You can make it. I might say, maybe we just don't know how good this Chiefs team is because there's so many young guys on it, and if they were 2 or 3 years older and you knew where they were in 3 years, you might be saying a little bit different tune.
Yeah.
But if you want to make the case, sure. Well, you know what? That one matters a lot more than 2 through 53. And the other thing that matters is coaching. And I'm very curious this week about the Eagles and their preparation and what they're going through, because, I mean, my feeling from opening night on has been that the Eagles are getting a lot more attention in this game than the Chiefs. And it makes sense with bigger market, third time for the Chiefs in the last 5 years, been 6 years since the Eagles have been here. So I get it. I mean, all of that makes sense. But, it's also – there's a lot of turnover, a lot of guys who haven't been here before on the Eagles side. Mm-hmm. It's this different team. So I don't know how they're going to handle that. Don't know how they're going to handle the pressure. I think this Chiefs team is going to handle it pretty well. They've got the better quarterback. They've got the better coach. That's what matters. And I think this game will be determined in the trenches. I agree with Andy Reid. I mean, I think it's going to be who gets onto the quarterback, who can create the enforced mistakes on the offense. Everything I'm rattling off right now, I think the Chiefs have either a clear edge or a slight edge. I mean, I think they're going to win this game. So I'm going to Chiefs, 31-27.
31-27 Chiefs. One thing that hasn't been talked about, and we'll break because I know we got Louis Riddick here. One thing that hasn't been talked about is the Chiefs against NFC teams. They beat Arizona by 23, Tampa Bay by 10, and it wasn't that close. San Francisco by 21, Rams by 16, and the Seahawks by 14.
Yeah.
So,
I said all week, the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. And they might be the fifth best team if they were in the AFC. I think there is that much disparity between the two conferences this year.
Fifth best team in the AFC with the greatest 2 through 53 we've ever seen. So, obviously. We'll take a timeout. Matt, you're the man. Really appreciate it, sir.
I think I just saw Solomon Wilcots again.
That's right. He's telling me why the Bengals are the greatest team ever assembled. That's fine. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the game, bud, and looking forward to talking to you next week, man.
You too, man. Take care, buddy.
Absolutely. There's Matt Derrick. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Louis Riddick comes up next, and also Mark Schlereth at the top of the hour. More Zone right after this.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
The other part of that is that I completely forgot what the second part of that was.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB as we continue heading up to 2 o'clock and Sunday when Super Bowl 57 gets rolling. We are hanging out at Radio Row in Phoenix. And joining us now from ESPN, it is Louis Riddick here in the Zone. Louis, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Good. Thanks for having me here.
Well, I appreciate it. You on the broadcast this weekend, broadcasting to Australia?
Yeah, how about that? ESPN International. It's, let's see, our third Super Bowl that we've done.
Yeah.
It's really cool, man. It's a lot. Not to say that live broadcasting is ever relaxed, but it's a real fun production. It's a Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
I mean, how cool is that? This is the second time we get to do a Kansas City game. The first one we did was Kansas City Tampa a couple of years ago, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully that's not a connection there with what happened with.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring it up like that, but yeah, I got you.
Absolutely, Louis Riddick is there. So do you have to learn like new lingo or whatever just to drop in from time to time?
No, you know what? Steve Levy likes to do that. He loves to do that. He loves to hit some of the popular sayings down there in Australia. He's good with that. I just stick to the football, man.
That's great.
Yeah.
Visiting with Louis Riddick on Radio Row here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. This Chiefs team is here. Is it a surprise because of the roster turnover at all, or not because Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, like you always have a shot when those guys are playing?
Yeah, I guess you could say it's a surprise given the changes that happened on offense, especially in the wide receiver room in particular.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, I don't think anybody should be shocked that Patrick was able to get this group together, especially the wide receiver group, make them the cohesive unit that they are now, raise their level of play the way he raised it. And I think, defensively, it really does speak to just how good they are at developing young players on the defensive side of the football, in particular in the secondary. What they have done this year with the number of rookies that are participating and playing at a high level now is really second to none. They are set up for the future in a way that no other team in the NFL is set up.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the case that, I've talked about it a number of times this week, that Mahomes' salary cap is the highest salary cap number for any quarterback by $11 million that ever even played in the Super Bowl, and his percentage against the cap is 3% higher than any quarterback that ever played in the Super Bowl. Yet it doesn't feel like this is a last chance type deal.
No question. I mean, they will be able to create a significant amount of cap room this offseason based on a few moves that you can probably anticipate they're going to make. They have 11 draft picks going into this draft. And again, look at all of the rookies who are going to be coming back now and in their second year who are playing critical roles.
Yeah.
And the offensive line is locked up in the interior three between Tootie, Creed, and Trey. They'll figure out what's going to happen with Orlando. They have some young players that they can go ahead and maybe allow to challenge Aaron at right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
We'll figure out what's going on with Travis. I mean, how much longer can he continue to play at this level? They'll continue to work the wide receiver position. And here's the kicker, though, right? The quarterback is 27 freaking years old.
Amazing.
27. We were just talking about what's his legacy if he wins this game. 2 Super Bowl titles, 2 Super Bowl MVP titles, and you're talking about him now in a way that probably is already going to involve, is he the greatest player of all time? All time, not just quarterback, of all time. And now, obviously, some people will say, well, that's a longevity discussion. But you know what? It's kind of like the discussion that they have with Jordan versus LeBron right now.
Well, yeah.
Like Jordan played 14 years, LeBron has played 20. Is it because LeBron played 20 that he's the greatest of all time and Jordan only played 14? I think it's really the influence and the impact you've had on the game in the time in which you played it. Patrick has played it long enough already to where I believe he can be in that discussion. And if he wins this game, he definitely is going to be in that discussion. And the scary thing is they are going to be in that discussion as a team for the foreseeable future as long as Andy wants to stick around.
Well, and that's the thing, too. Louis Riddick is our guest. How long do you think he wants to stay around and coach? Because it feels like when he got Patrick Mahomes, that was like a new lease on life.
Yeah.
He was like a 30-year-old kid again coaching football.
Based on the way he looked yesterday at practice, I got to go over there and watch the whole practice with him and talk to Rick Burkholder and talk to Veach the whole practice.
Mm-hmm.
Andy looks as energized as he's ever looked. He looks as relaxed, as happy, as sure in his program and how he has built it. And how it sustains itself now, because right now it's kind of like now it's a program of the players, and that's exactly what you want to get it to, right? Yeah. The players kind of like run the thing for him. If it ever gets to the point where he's having to be the one who's kind of like really a heavy-handed legislator within the program, then you're in trouble anyway. You're probably not going to be there very long. Patrick runs that thing now, okay? Nick Bolton runs it now. Those are the guys that say, hey, look, this is how we do things. And they win this Super Bowl, it's going to continue to be that way. The best thing to draft a guy like Mahomes and have him be as good of a human being as he is, that's like once in a lifetime generational type stuff. Mm-hmm. And they killed that.
Yeah.
Veach, I know what that process was like. I know what he went through in terms of going and watching Patrick play, coming back and telling coach, we need to go see this guy. You need to break this guy down. I think this guy can be one of the greatest we've ever seen. I know because he told me as it was happening. They nailed that. And, man, does that make everything else that much easier, because you know you've got your own locker room legislator who is really just an extension of Andy now. Mm-hmm. Telling guys, look, what he told us out in Vegas just a couple weeks ago. I said, how did he get on the same page with these dudes so quickly, with McCole being the only wide receiver coming back that he had the year before? He said, well, immediately he got all these guys together. He took them down to Texas, and he started working with them. And he said, look, this is how I play. This is how the wide receivers are supposed to play. This is where I need you. All that stuff, right? All off season last year, what was the number one thing people kept talking about with Aaron Rodgers? Why isn't he there? Why isn't he working with these young guys? We had analysts who kept saying, it's Aaron Rodgers. You don't need the offseason. He'll get on the same page. Everybody needs to relax. Well, okay, we see how that turned out.
Yeah.
Patrick took the opposite approach, and look where he is.
Yeah.
That dude is special, man. I mean, he's this. How cool is that for Kansas City fans?
It's it's surreal.
Exactly. You know, that's a great word for it.
Because
you don't realize how lucky you are.
Because thinking about the stars in other places, like this star, that star, and it's like, you know, is the face of the NFL playing in Kansas City as a 27-year-old? It's just unbelievable to think about.
It's not a question.
Yeah.
It is.
But it's just surreal to say, like, it is, but it's he's in Kansas City, which is a great part about the NFL because, you know, unfortunately, if it was baseball, it would be, well, how long until he's a free agent, and then we'll see where he goes after that. But Patrick's here for his whole career.
And here's the thing. He wasn't the first pick of the draft. Mm-hmm. He didn't fall into your lap. It wasn't one of those where, so when people go, well, hell, it's easy because you have Patrick Mahomes. You can do anything. No. They targeted him. They moved up in the draft to go get him.
Yeah.
They sat him behind Alex. They had a nice definitive plan for that. You can't assume that would have happened any other place.
Yeah.
So for them, and that makes it, to me, that makes it even sweeter. Because this was really like, this was the result of putting in the work and in making the investment. Taking the risk, moving up, taking him, making the investment, making him sit behind Alex, getting him the weapons, continuing to methodically build him up, teach him, and then just turn him loose. Whenever Andy does decide to retire, whenever Brett decides, you know, I'm done with team building, that's going to be a hell of a good day for them because they're going to really sit back. I talk to my wife all the time about having that moment in life where you just kind of literally sit back and empty your mind and you go, I don't give a damn about anything anymore. I'm just going to relax and live. I'm telling you, they're going to those moments are coming for them because I mean, outside of any, you know, other stresses in your life, as far as their professional life, you can't do it any better than what they did with him. You can't do it any better than that. You just can't.
And I remember in 2018 at the Combine, the year after they drafted Patrick Mahomes, they had Alex Smith. He was sitting behind. He was going to be the new starting quarterback. They had traded Alex Smith. And Brett Veach at the podium at the press conference at the Combine said, no, Patrick Mahomes is the best prospect I've ever seen, and he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And at that time, people were like, dude, calm down. I mean, if he was that good, he would have played in front of Alex Smith. Okay, if he was that good, let's chill out, Brett. Okay, and then Patrick goes out there and is a starter and just starts doing what he's been doing ever since. And Brett Veach also told our afternoon show that, it's a great line. He said, trading a first-round pick, whatever it took, if we're right, it doesn't matter the price.
Right.
And they were right.
Brett told me he felt that way about Patrick after the first, I believe maybe it was a rookie minicamp or it was an OTA practice. And he said, and I'll say this now here, he sent me a video clip, and he goes, don't show this to anybody. And it was Patrick making some throws in practice. And he's like, we're all standing there watching it going, can you believe what he's doing? This was his first couple practices.
Wow.
He said, Lou, when we turn this dude loose, oh, my God. And he said they had conversations that year about, should we just put him in there? But Alex is having a career year. Should we just put him in there? So he was dead on. And, I went right to ESPN with that. Okay? When he told me that, that's when I remember going on a Sports Center. It may have been with maybe with Nicole Brisco. And she was like, you've been tweeting some stuff about this Patrick Mahomes guy. Would you? And I went on TV and I said, he will have 30-plus touchdowns. And everyone was like, what? 30 touchdowns? What do you have, 50?
Yeah, 50.
His first year?
5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns.
When he hit 30, people were like, you're lucky. Then he kept going, and people were like, damn.
Hit 30 in like week 12.
Exactly.
I mean, you were golden.
His coming out party was that Monday night game in Denver where he threw the left-handed pass.
Oh, yeah. Yep,
that was when
quarter.
Everyone was like, oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that was third down. He was being chased by Von Miller.
Yep.
And then what even happened after that is they had a holding penalty, so they were at 2nd and 25, and 2 plays later was a first down into Denver territory.
Right.
It was like that same drive, left-handed pass, and overcame 2nd and 25 against the Broncos defense. And it's like that part gets lost because of the left-handed pass, But we haven't seen the left-handed pass since, but we've seen 2nd and 25.
Has he never done that again since
Not
then?
yet. No, he's done the flip pass.
He's done everything.
He did
else,
the little
dude.
hook thingy.
I'm sitting there watching him at practice yesterday, and I was watching him with Michael. Vic was at practice, and I'm going, Patrick throws the ball in such an he doesn't have to do what everyone else does. Mm-hmm. His feet will be pointing one way. He will literally take that ball and drop his arm, 3/4 sidearm, and throw it this way, and he does it all the time.
Yeah.
It's so weird how talented he is, and he's such a good dude, man. He's such a good dude.
Last one for you. What do you think it means for Andy Reid's legacy to get Super Bowl number 2?
Yeah, it's a great question. We talked about this today on TV along with Patrick. I think for Andy, it changes everything if he wins this game. If he doesn't, then all of a sudden, then it's, wait a minute, you won 1 Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes?
Mm-hmm.
And you were there 3 times?
5 AFC championship games.
Exactly, and you won 1 Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And in Philadelphia, so then all those boogeymen from Philadelphia will come to the forefront and go, well, you did the same thing in Philly too. He wins it. Now all of a sudden, everyone loves Andy anyway, and for good reason. Then you're going to start talking about him in the same way people talk about Bill Belichick because of the fact that he won. Yeah. Not just because everyone knows he's a good coach, but you can't really put the stamp on it because he only has 1 Super Bowl. He wins another one, then it's kind of like, all right, 2, 5, 6, what does it matter? He's one of the greats ever. And I think he realizes that, and I think a lot of people are watching this game with that level of intrigue too.
I know you're doing the game, so we won't ask for a prediction. Louis Reddick from ESPN Broadcasting Internationally. Louis, great stuff, man.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate the time. Big fan, and thank you for stopping by today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
This SportsCenter is brought to you by Pajamagram, a Valentine's Day gift that's more alluring than lingerie. Naturally nude pajamas by Pajamagram. Sensuous and soft, they look just as seductive as they feel. Order naturally nude pajamas today at pajamagram.com. Speaking of good gifts, Patrick Mahomes is now a 2-time NFL MVP after winning the award at NFL Honors last night, becoming just the 10th player in NFL history to have multiple MVPs to his name. Meanwhile, the Chiefs' injury report threw a curveball yesterday as everyone was a full participant except for cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. He popped up on the injury report for the first time with a knee issue, although Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com says sources tell him it isn't serious, not expected to keep him out of the Super Bowl on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. When we come back, Jason Anderson with Mark Schlereth live from Radio Row in Arizona. I'm Joshua Brisco. This is SportsCenter.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Championship ticket sales games.
Championship tickles.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, heading up until 2 o'clock right now. Time to talk some football with Mark Schlereth, NFL on Fox 104.3, The Fan in Denver, joining us here in the Zone. Mark, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am doing just fine. I want to talk a lot of football with you, but let's start with something that I think is pretty cool, and it just launched 2 days ago. It's the Stunt. So what is the Stunt? I know what it is, but I want you to tell.
So think about this, a social media platform, the first of its kind, that's just intended for nothing but sports Twitter fans, right? So it's like Twitter, Instagram, YouTube channel, everything that a content creator could want, TikTok, all meshed into one app. So you have your profile with all the things that you're doing. So it's a one-of-a-kind sports platform where you can put everything together and you can create your own platform. So you know how people are in this business, right? They say, hey, Stink, you suck at calling games and you suck at radio and I'd be much better. Oh, really? Well, put your money where your mouth is. Come get a taste. Yeah, and you can monetize this. So if you're good and you create content that people will pay for, guess what? There is a paywall. You can make money doing it. It's like a fans-only account, only you don't have to show your yoo-hoo. You just have to talk sports. So, I mean, it is awesome, and it's got so many cool applications, and it's, like you said, launched on Wednesday, so there's so much going on right now and so many different things that you can do to create your sports content the way you see it, the way you like it.
What if I wanted to show my hoo-ha? Could I do that?
I would imagine, behind the paywall. Okay. I imagine you could do whatever you want.
Free reign. Okay,
right,
nice. Yeah. Okay, I got this. That would be an interesting sports talk show.
Right, exactly.
That would be really interesting. Mark Schlereth is our guest. Okay, so Sean Payton is the coach with the Broncos. What's the reaction around there? What do you think of Sean Payton being hired?
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. Sean Payton is, I always say there's essentially two types of fear that are imperative for a head coach to have. One is, if you read the Bible, there's a biblical fear, which is an awesome reverence or respect. You hear the fear of the Lord is not about being afraid. It's about this awesome reverence or respect. There's got to be that reverence for who that guy is, the way he game plans, the way he puts you in position, and all those things. Then there's just got to be straight up fear. This dude will cut my ass without even thinking about it. If I don't perform, there will be consequences. And that has to be part of any organization. I am dear friends with Mike Shanahan, who coached me for 6 years in Denver. Like I said, a dear friend, a great man. He's a mentor to me. Mike, if I didn't produce, would cut me in 2 seconds and at the same time go, hey, man, we're having pizza at the house tonight. Why don't you swing by? Like, he wouldn't even think twice about
packing.
It. Right. So, like, it's just what you have to have. And they just haven't had that. There hasn't been that level of accountability. There hasn't been that level of professionalism. And I say this all the time. I used to tell my son this when he was going into professional baseball. Just because you play a pro sport doesn't make you a professional. You got to learn how to be a professional. And you see it on a week-to-week basis as you travel around calling NFL games, and I'm at a Friday practice every week. Some practices are sharp. Some practices just go. And some just drag about. And I'm always like, you can tell the teams that understand how important this is and the way they work, by the way they practice, by the speed, by the lack of repeat plays and all that stuff. And then you can see teams that just slap Sally around, right? I mean, it just is like they're just dicking around, and there's a difference. And Sean Payton brings that kind of accountability, that kind of just that kind of professionalism to the organization that they need desperately.
I feel like as you're talking, it feels a little bit like when the Chiefs and Clark Hunt went and got Andy Reid. That, nothing against Romeo Crennel, who was a professional, but does Romeo Crennel bring the "you better do what you're going to do or I'm going to cut you," as opposed to "I really love Romeo Crennel playing for me, players coach, because I feel like he's one of my friends." Right. And Andy Reid gets there, and it's no BSing. All right, this is what we do. This is the culture. This is how we're going to do it.
Right.
And not that Fangio or Joseph or Fox or anybody didn't really have that, but I feel like it's different with Sean Payton walking in there with the aura and the respect and the history of Sean Payton being the head coach there. That it's sort of like, okay, this guy is different.
Right. Yeah. And then having been friends and consulting for the Saints and doing some other things that I've done with Sean for the last 12 years. I just understand how, basically the way he's talked to me about football and the way he prepares his football team, he will never, like there are some young coaches or some inexperienced coaches that want to attack somebody's weakness. And they see a juicy matchup and they can't wait, we're going to attack this, but it may expose a player. Maybe it's the running back that's not good at blitz pickup. Maybe it's the tight end that can't block a defensive end. Maybe it's a tackle who struggles in pass protection. And instead of saying we can't attack that matchup, they're like, hey, we'll just hold up. We're just going to hold. We just got to hold up on this one. We just got to hold up on this one. And what ends up happening is you run it a couple of times and you may make a play, but eventually strip sack, fumble, touchdown the other way, and you lose the game. And the first rule of game planning with Sean Payton is we got to mitigate our own weaknesses. That's the first rule. Before we attack anybody's weaknesses, we got to mitigate our own. And I say that to say, Russell, there are certain things you can do and you can do well. But there are certain things that you're just not good at. And you know what? I know you want to be good at those, but you're not. And guess what? You're not going to get to play that way. And that is what hasn't happened. That's, to me, why you saw the dramatic drop-off. People were like, he's washed and he can't move anymore. Baloney. That's baloney. And, he's 34 years old. He can still, that's garbage. The problem is he is doing things that he's not capable of doing. And so you've got to pare things down, and you've got to do the stuff that they did in Seattle where he had success. And he's plenty skilled at those. And if you go back and you watch his last two games of the season, he started to play that way. He started to play better. And I believe that Sean has got the authority to say, here's what we're going to do, and we're not doing this. And he even mentioned it. Somebody asked him about Darren McKee, a buddy of mine on the radio station that I work at in Denver, asked him, hey, what about Jake Heaps, who's a personal quarterback coach, who's in the building and on the field? And he goes, I'm not familiar with the situation, but that won't happen here. Like, only our coaches. And so he's already laid down the law. He's already talked about anonymous donors. I don't need a bunch of guys showing how hard they work on Twitter and Instagram, right? What I need is guys that just work hard and do it anonymously. And so he's already, and that goes not only for Russell, but a bunch of other guys too. So he's already laid down the law in his first press conference. Like, there's a new sheriff in town, and you got to have that. And speaking of Andy Reid, Andy Reid, it's not just coaching your players. More importantly, it's coaching your coaches and holding your coaches accountable. And if your group doesn't play well, guess what? As a coach, see ya. You don't get a coach anymore. And you got to have that authority as well, not only over the players, but probably more importantly over your coaching staff. And that's a big transition, especially for young coaches who have never done it before, who have always been part of the group and kind of whisper. The head coach is we're walking on eggshells. Now all of a sudden you have to become that guy. And that's a hard transition for young coaches. Not only that, but you've coached a position. You've coached the one side of the ball, so you have more connectivity with your players. And when you become the head coach, you lose that connectivity with your players because you're coaching the team and you're coaching the coaches. And a lot of young coaches have a difficult time making that transition. And so that's why I don't call them retreads. Like when they hire I call them certified pre-owned coaches, right? It's like the used car business. They're not used cars; they're certified pre-owned cars, because you can't make up for that experience. You just can't.
Mark Schlereth, I guess, do you think Russ is open to that type of coaching where Sean Payton would say, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, this is how we're playing, and your quarterback's coach is not going to be in the building?
Russ has told me in many meetings, and I've probably called 12 games of his over the last couple of years, maybe more. I want to be the greatest winner. That's really what I'm concerned about, being a great winner. If that's sincere, then he damn well better be open to it, because he was, like, to call him awful last year is an insult to awful things. He was beyond pathetic, like embarrassing. That's how bad. It was embarrassing how bad he was last year. And so I would hope that would give you a level of humility. I mean, listen, you play this game long enough, and I started for 12 years in this league. I got my ass kicked plenty. And I've gotten humiliated plenty. And I tell you what, it is gut-wrenching to play that poorly and to know that you're letting your teammates down. And if he doesn't have a sense of that, then he's not a human. So I'm counting on, and I know he's awkward, and I know, he sometimes is tone deaf and all that stuff, but I still believe that he is human. And I do believe that really cut him to the core last year, because he was bad.
All right, prediction time. Do you have a prediction score? What you think is going to happen on Sunday?
Listen, I'm going. I know you're a Kansas City station, and I'm a Bronco, so I hate the Chiefs with the white hot intensity of 1,000 suns, which is really hard for me because I really like Andy.
Yeah.
I'm good buddies with Matt Nagy. I've never met Mahomes, but I love Mahomes. I love the voice. I just love the way he plays. But I really think Philadelphia is the most solid team, top to bottom, roster wise. And I go by this. There's two things. 9 straight MVP quarterbacks. Somebody just told me this. Maybe it's not even true, but somebody just told me this on another station. 9 straight guys who won MVP have lost in the Super Bowl.
Warner, 99, the last MVP to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So
until Sunday,
right? Until Sunday. But listen, I go back. People say, well, they've got a better quarterback, and I'll give you. You guys have got the guy's a unicorn. I mean, when he takes a dump, it's orange sherbet. It's unbelievable. The guy is amazing. But I was part of a Super Bowl team that played against a Hall of Fame quarterback that was as good as it gets, and we had Mark Rippon. But you know what we had? Top 5 offense, top 5 defense, top 5 special teams. We had the best team. Maybe a lot of people thought was the best team in Super Bowl history. That was the 91 Washington Redskins. And we opened a can of whoop ass on them. So I'm taking the Eagles, 100, Kansas City, nothing.
Boy, that is if you can. I don't even know. I might go to the apps and see if I can get that exact score. I don't know.
No, I think it'll be tight. I think the one way that Kansas City has lost, and they've won more than they've lost this way, but when other teams possess the ball, shorten the game, they shrink the game, they end up giving you only 7 or 8 possessions instead of 12. You got a chance to win against Kansas City. Doesn't mean you're gonna.
Yeah.
And Kansas City wins more of those than they lose because they're that dynamic. But I'm just gonna believe that the Eagles have that kind of makeup right now, the way they run the ball and the way Jalen Hurts is playing, more decision-wise in the run game. And I'll give you a quick for instance. Because Chris Jones was amazing in the AFC Championship. I said this on TV yesterday on Fox. I was like, think about this. Nick Sirianni told me, when you have a guy that's we call the war daddy, Chris Jones is a war daddy. Like, the dude's unblockable, right? You got to double team him all the time. Because when we get one of those guys that's kind of unblockable like that, instead of double teaming him every time and leaving everybody else open, don't block him at all. Read him. Go back and watch what they did to Nick Bosa early in that game in Philadelphia. They just didn't block him. They basically just let that handoff. Like, are you going to pinch down and take the running back? Okay, I'll keep it as a quarterback. Are you going to? No. Okay, I'll give it to the running back. Well, they had him tied in knots, and he's the NFL MVP, defensive MVP, player of the year, and they had him tied in knots, and they didn't block him. And it's just kind of a unique platform that Philadelphia does, add the running back, the 11-on-11 aspect of the quarterback playing running back. It should be a great game, man. I'm really looking forward to it. And it's not going to kill me if Kansas City wins. It won't.
It might.
I'll be okay.
Mark Schlereth, our guest. Mark, great stuff, man. Very much appreciate the time. Thank you for stopping by today.
My pleasure.
Man.
Take care.
Absolutely. There's Mark Schlereth joining us here in the zone live at Radio Row as we are broadcasting heading up until 2 o'clock. Our final day here at Radio Row. Mark Schlereth with The Stunt. TheStunt.com. It just launched on Wednesday. Social media platform for sports fans and all the different types of influencers, whether that be video or podcast or whatever it might be. Have to check that out. TheStunt.com. He's got Philadelphia final score 100-0 over the Chiefs. I think he's wrong. I think he's wrong on that score at least. Maybe Philadelphia. I just don't see 100-0 happening. But you know what? We'll find out. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling as we are hanging out here on Radio Row. Don't forget our coverage as we continue is brought to you by Twin Peaks, America's favorite sport. Crowns a champ on February 12th. Show up early, cash out quarterly. The first 100 guests qualify for the Squares board. Watch the game at Twin Peaks. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I've tried a lot of different things to get these. There's a couple squirrels that keep wanting to eat the tomatoes and my apples.
Oh, I got it.
Don't plant tomatoes.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We continue hanging out here in Radio Row in Phoenix. Jason Anderson with you. Thank you to Mark Schlereth joining us and Louis Riddick before that. Mark Schlereth, I don't think his prediction is going to come true. You never know. But our coverage is presented by Blue Note Bourbon, ranked among the very best whiskeys worthy of your attention by Whiskey Advocate. Pick up some Blue Note Bourbon for the big game and all your occasions. 100-0 is Mark Schlereth's prediction for the Eagles to win. 100-0. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, so I mean,
what kind of odds would you get on that sort of spread in Vegas?
If you picked that exact score, because you can pick exact scores. You picked the exact score, 100-0. Is it even offered as an exact?
Can I tease that? Can I please that? Tease that? Something like that?
Can I tease the Eagles to minus 99.5? Because Schlereth seemed pretty confident that was going to happen. Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 TV's Mick Schaefer is here with us. And
did he say that because he just doesn't like the Chiefs?
That's what he said. He said, I hate the Chiefs with the power of 1,000 suns. And so, yes.
But he beat the Chiefs probably a lot more than he lost.
And he was like, I like Andy Reid, and I'm good friends with so many different people, and but I hate the Chiefs without it. It's 100-0 with the, which is fine. But KSHB 41's Mick Schaefer is with us, and we were jealous. Matt Derrick and I were jealous because we didn't have any food, and Brisco and the boys back in Kansas City are enjoying some Johnny's Tavern to eat. And then Matt was like, you know what, why is it every time that I'm somewhere, you're eating Johnny's Tavern, Atomic Cowboy, Denver Biscuits, barbecue, doesn't matter what it is, they have it, and we don't. So
the power is yours to change it, Mick Schaefer, because you are brought to you by Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon, home of the 2-story biscuit sandwiches from Denver Biscuit Company all morning, New York-style hand-tossed pizza all afternoon and evening from Fat Soli's, 20 beers on tap all the time. It's at 42nd in Pennsylvania and Westport. I'm going to keep giving you the cross-section there, the cross streets, because apparently you guys can't find it because you're stuck in Arizona, and I get to just go to Atomic Cowboy whenever I want.
Yeah, that's sure. I mean, if you want to brag,
I do.
Bragger.
I do.
You know, nobody likes a bragger.
I do.
Right?
I like a bragger. I like a 2-story bragger sandwich. I'm gonna see if they can add one to the menu.
That's right. Mick's more of a grower, not a shower.
Oh,
so he's
boy.
Not doing much bragging over there. Speaking of food, though, I'm curious as to what. So we got Pat, our sister station in Wichita, doing a show here, and he brings a sandwich, and the sandwich has written on Sharpie, Eckler.
But it's not spelled like
It
Austin
is spelled
Eckler.
like.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
So I'm wondering if he stole Austin Eckler's sandwich.
Probably so. And now you have it.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
right.
looks pretty good.
Right.
Although I just had In-N-Out Burger for the 3rd time this trip.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's no Shake Shack, though?
Hey, Jason,
no.
I'm sorry to bump in. I just wanted to make sure you didn't eat that sandwich, the Eckler sandwich.
No, I did not.
Okay, good, because Charger stuff never is good until February. I mean, never.
That's exactly right. Now, I was Mick is right. It was spelled wrong, which almost makes it better because Pat said the sandwich was named after Austin Eckler, and they spelled his last name wrong. So that's even better, I think. I don't know. I mean, just like you named a sandwich after him, but you don't get his name right.
I just hope they spelled MVS's name right on his sandwich. God, I hope they spelled it right.
Can you imagine what he would do?
When they announced it over the microphone, I hope they said it right.
Oh, what would he do if he found out a company had spelled his name wrong on a sandwich they named after him in his honor? He would
aggressively tweet about it.
Be happy about that. He would not be happy about that. He would probably just scroll on his phone when you're interviewing him.
Sounds pretty specific, Mick.
Probably for me. It's my conversation with MVS that we didn't play because really no use of playing the interview, and he was just scrolling on his phone like, all right, Marquez, sorry you couldn't join us. So thank you. I said your name right.
I said Marquez.
I said Marquez. You know,
there are German reporters, right? There are reporters from Scotland and Italy and all over the place, from South America here. And so, I mean, they're here for the Super Bowl. They probably don't know much of either roster beyond Patrick Mahomes, the Kelce's, and maybe Jalen Hurts.
Go there, get some interviews, get some B-roll, get
so
some sound, and just ask
unfortunate
questions.
young soul. We were talking to Marquez, called him Marquez, and immediately it's Marquez. Like, okay,
and tweeted it out at that.
The guy's probably from Brazil, dude.
Have you had an interaction with any of the reporters from Mexico City?
No,
because I have been told that they are very aggressive and they'll like push you out of the way. And even if you're doing like a one-on-one, they will just come right in, turn on the camera, and start asking questions.
I got elbowed in the ribs on Monday, but that was by a Philly photog.
Oh, well,
I'm pretty sure it was intentional. Matt, right, was it intentional when I got elbowed in the ribs? Yeah, he was there. Because they set up it's this huge ballroom that walls can move, right? They can make it pretty much as big as they want. They decided to make it really small. What's it? I mean, like the Star Wars, right? When the room's just shrinking, right?
That's right, yes.
Everything's collapsing. They're about to get crushed. It felt like that. Every minute, it felt like it was getting smaller. And so they made it very small. And so they had Creed and Patrick close to each other, which, I mean, Creed's a center and everything, but he's a good storyline, right? He's been he's never had a bad quarterback in his life. I want to go back to Max Preps in like 2015 to see who his high school quarterback was and hunt him down, see if I've maybe heard of that guy.
He actually played with Joe Burrow. It's weird.
Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. 2 Heisman Trophy winners, a 2-time MVP winner, Super Bowl guy, and Jalen Hurts. My goodness,
that is not bad at all. But it got to the point that there had been a number of interactions with this group from Mexico City that was just being overly aggressive and getting it. That finally, I think it was. I don't know who was doing the interview, but Chad was there, and they then stuck the camera down and sort of bumped Chad, and Chad elbows the camera right out of the way, just like, no, dude, not happening on this one.
For you, Chad.
And just like you see like stories of like media fighting, I'm like, there's only a number of times when it can like, okay, dude, chill, all right? You're next in line, man, but you don't have to bump somebody out of the way to try to get the shot, dude. So Chad just elbows the camera right back at him, and the guy like looks down like, what's the deal? And Chad's like, no, ain't happening, buddy. This is like the 4th time you've done this over the last couple of days. Not happening, man.
Yeah, man, that happens. And with a lot of people, almost everybody's nice and courteous and civil and normal, but
I didn't have that
just
interaction.
Takes a few bad eggs. Yeah, maybe it's Chad. Maybe he's the problem.
Fine, man. Everybody's been very.
I saw a young weather lady from Mexico City, and I had 0 problems with her. None.
She looked like she had 0 problems.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, it did not get physical.
Didn't. Drake laugh. Ha ha! How you doing, Patrick Mahomes? 2-time MVP now.
2-time MVP.
Patrick
that was
Mahomes.
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I wondered if he was going to be there or not.
I thought, and it might still be the reason, I thought because that's on a Saturday. It's been on a Saturday every year, and they moved to a Thursday, and so probably some for ratings. But then others like, okay, if these Super Bowl teams, they're going to have guys nominated for all these awards. Maybe we can get him there. But it was just the Hunts. Maybe a couple others on the contingent from the Chiefs. The Kelce's were there, Ed and Donna, superstars.
And they didn't sing. Everybody else apparently had a number that they were singing last night.
Kirk Cousins, I don't like to be a fan of his as a quarterback. Might be frustrating, right? And I get it. He's a really good quarterback. He's not anywhere near Mahomes or anybody, but he's a really good singer. He seems like a really funny dude.
Yeah.
He did a remake of a bit with Kyle Brandt of the NFL Network of an old school.
That commercial.
Is it Lex Luger? Is that who it was?
Who can throw the ball and catch it.
The
and
ball,
the perfect catch.
The perfect catch. And he's really, seems like he has good comedic timing. He's a really good singer.
Can we relax on really good singer? Like Kelly Clarkson gave that to him so quickly. Really good singer is a little much.
I was thinking that, though, Josh, before she said it. I'm like, man, he's hitting these notes.
That's because
he's a
George
much
Kittle
better singer than George Kittle. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay, yeah, it's
Hayward
all relative, right? Yeah, he's not going to drop an album. Calm down. I'm not calling him Michael Bublé, okay?
Yes, I mean he's
fantastic.
He's not bowling, okay? He's not he's not taking his turn.
But he was into it too. That's part of it. Like you have to really go overboard and be into it. A lot of those NFL guys aren't going to do that.
I didn't know anything he was singing because I was paying attention to what the hell was going on with Jim Brown. Did you?
I missed that. I caught bits and pieces. We were out to dinner. We were watching it kind of, from afar.
When they come back from break and Kelly Clarkson's on the stage, at the bottom left, you can see a group of people standing around and somebody's on the ground. right? And it goes to Kelly Clarkson, and she's, being the professional and talking, and then Kirk Cousins comes out and sings, and as it sort of pans out, still there. Like, people are gathering around and trying to and people are looking around and pointing fingers and everything, and, like, nobody acknowledged it. But then on Twitter, it's like, oh, man, I hope Jim Brown's okay. Did that look like Jim Brown? Like, I'm not even knowing what they're saying or talking about. I had to go back and listen to the song later because they're like, oh, Kirk Cousins is a good singer. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Let me see what he was actually saying, because I was wondering what the heck was going on in the crowd at that time. Haven't heard anything from it. So
that's good, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he might have just fallen. Like, he might have just simply fell. And didn't have the life lock.
No, I saw the Cousins thing. I saw Mahomes. I saw Kelly Clarkson in her huge Cowboys dress.
Very big dress.
Right. I saw DeMar Hamlin's body double. That's all we saw from.
He was there too.
Last night.
It's like the fake Andy Reid walking around here. There was a fake DeMar Hamlin up there on stage. So it sounded just like him.
Spitting image.
Sounded just like him. How do I know it's him until I watch him play football? Yeah. Anybody can walk around and look like him.
You would think that would be a big hit to the whole, conspiracy theory crowd, but probably not. They can explain that away.
Yeah. We talked with Tom Pelissero earlier today in the show, and I asked him, this is ranked choice voting for the first time this year with all these awards, and Mahomes still got 48 out of 50 first-place votes.
Yeah.
You had Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen both got one, but 48 out of 50, I have no problem with that. But I was surprised that there weren't more that would be like, oh, I'm going to put Mahomes second, and I'll put this person first. Or Jalen Hurts is in.
I was too, yeah.
But 48 out of 50, even if it wasn't ranked choice, I mean, he was by far and away the MVP.
Yeah, there's a lot of groupthink in a lot of those awards, but usually when it's something like NFL MVP, there's so few games, right? It's not like Heisman Trophy where there's, 130 teams to choose from. There's 32, right? And everybody's keeping a pretty good pulse on it. So usually there's less groupthink there. So when I heard 48 out of 50, I'm like, first of all, who are these two guys? Okay, where are they?
Idiots.
They on Radio Row?
Who had honestly though, and this is not just well, you're always going to find something to complain about, you Chiefs fans and Chiefs Kingdom, but who did put Josh Allen number one?
Oh, Josh got one.
Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen got a first place vote. Like what are you doing?
It's fine. Criteria. I still have just so many more questions about how somebody that plays offense and quarterback can be the MVP, but then not the offensive player of the year. I just don't understand.
They should
that.
just simply change the offensive player of the year to this is the best player that is not a quarterback.
Yes.
Because the MVP of the league finished second in voting in offensive player of the year. Yeah. It's like, well, if he's the MVP of the entire league, why wouldn't he be the offensive player of the year? And I have no problem with them just saying, okay, a quarterback can't win the offensive player of the year. Great. I'm perfectly fine with that. The MVP is typically a quarterback, but sometimes they have had multiple quarterbacks win those awards. One quarterback wins MVP and another quarterback wins Offensive Player of the Year, unless you have Justin Jefferson, who has the season that he had, which was very deserving.
I just figure it's Dan Orlovsky running the entire awards thing to where he's splitting all these hairs of like, listen, yes, Justin Jefferson is the Offensive Player of the Year, but Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver.
It's at wide receiver-ing.
At wide receiver-ing.
At wide receiver-ing.
It's not Justin Jefferson.
Not even close.
He's the best. Look, I get it. He's a wide receiver, and he's the best, but not at that position.
Patrick Mahomes is the most valuable player. Justin Jefferson is the best offensive player when it comes to being offensive.
Yes.
And playering.
Playering.
It's Justin Jefferson. That's how I would go with that.
And honestly, I get it. You want to spread the awards around, and as long as Mahomes is winning the MVP over that offensive, that's a better thing.
Totally fine. And hopefully breaking the streak of
Kurt Warner, right? Was that the last one?
9 straight quarterbacks that have been MVPs to play in the Super Bowl, 0-9. The 6 quarterbacks that have led the league in passing yards to play in a Super Bowl are 0-6. But teams that wore white in Arizona are 3-0. Something's got to give, Mick. I don't know which one you go with more. The teams that are wearing white or passing yards and MVPs.
I don't think laundry can give. I don't think it's a tough one. It's a tough one to break there.
There's no doubt about that. Do you think Mahomes has heard about that, the MVP and the Super Bowl winners in the same year?
Yes, because he's a bigger sports fan than you and I combined. Yeah. Absolutely. He sees
a
everything out
prick.
there. He is. Absolutely. And so I think so. But, I mean, look, the Chiefs drafted quarterbacks hadn't won a game for them in a generation, right? Literally 25 years, right, before he came along. So he's just fine busting through those walls, right?
Yeah, that's right. He breaks glass ceilings when it comes to the Chiefs all the time. He continues that. We will take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll get into a prediction time. We'll go around the
for the Super Bowl
room because there's Mick and I here, and Josh is in a different room, and Beards is in a completely separate room. So we'll go around the rooms and break down what we think is going to happen in the Super Bowl on Sunday and predictions. We'll do that as we continue rolling along. Our coverage presented by Dream Lawn. Dream Lawn here to disrupt the lawn care industry. At Dream Lawn, their products are all natural and help your lawn thrive. Professional golf courses, baseball stadiums, and acres of farmland are all making the change to Dream Lawn. Go to dreamlawn.com and learn about the difference. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Text says, love you guys, or excuse me, says like you guys. I apologize. Another text said, love the show. Sorry, I've combined those. I apologize. Like you guys. I don't want to exaggerate.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Big shout out to those that have helped us this week in sponsorships: Twin Peaks, Rally House, Blue Note Bourbon, and Dream Lawn, as we are hanging out in Phoenix, Radio Row, heading up to Super Bowl 57, final segment of the week. And I would go through all the guests that we have, but we've had so many, and it seems like a lot of work to go back and write those things down.
You don't want to forget somebody. They're all listening right now.
Every one of them are listening right now. I meant to go back also and count, who picked the Eagles and who picked the Chiefs. We had a couple of Chiefs picks. We had a few people like, yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs, but mostly it was a lot of Eagles picks. A lot of people picking the Eagles, which is perfectly fine.
I like that.
Perfectly fine.
I like that.
Perfectly fine. We talked with Steve Gorman yesterday after the show. That you'll hear on
Steve
Gorman? Steve Gorman from Black Crows. The drummer
really?
from Black Crows. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know outside of the lead singer, Chris Robinson.
Yep.
I didn't know. I barely knew him.
Yeah.
I don't know any other.
So he's here. Apparently, he does a sports radio show with Westwood One.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we talked with him yesterday, and you'll hear it on the bonus hour either tonight or the 15 hours. Maybe tomorrow we have a bonus hour. And he was like, I don't get it. He's like, I'm walking around here. Every analyst, everybody I'm talking to is like, Eagles this, and Eagles are going to do this, and Eagles. He's like, have they not watched this year? Have they not seen who the Eagles have played? Have they not watched the Chiefs? He goes, the fact that everybody is saying the Eagles, I'm betting my house on the Chiefs to win this game. This is absurd. Apparently, he went to school to be a sportscaster. He was not going to be. He wasn't going to be in a band.
He got smart and went to a band.
He didn't play an instrument or anything. His college roommate had a drum set, and he's like, "Hey, can I try that?" And he just started playing around with the drums. And then when he graduated from WKU, by the way, Hilltopper.
Oh my God!
When he graduated from WKU, he moved to Atlanta, and the guy who owned the house that he rented the room from, Chris Robinson of Black Crows.
No way.
And so he's like, yeah, I play a little drums. And they started the Black Crows. It's actually an amazing conversation that we had. It's really cool that we just, didn't have time to play it today. And so we're going to put it. We talked to him like, yeah, this will be like.
Are they still playing? Are they still touring?
He's not touring with them.
Okay.
So he's now doing sports radio. He's like, that was my original dream. He's like, I was in college in '83, and ESPN was going on, and when I saw that in high school,
sports radio really wasn't a thing in 1983.
He was going to be a TV broadcaster, and he was like, ESPN, that's what I wanted to be. I saw that, and I'm like, I'm going to do that. And he said, I went to school, I got a broadcasting degree, and I got that, and then I turned out to be a musician, and I'm a drummer, and never played an instrument until I got to college. So it's amazing just how things sort of work out. Your roommate in college has a drum set, and then you rent a room from Chris Robinson, who owns a house in Atlanta, and you're a member of the Black Crows. It's amazing. So that is kind of the theme: is everybody's picking the Eagles, everybody's picking the Eagles. Do you have a feel for it, Mick? What you think's going to happen? I've become more confident as the week has gone on.
I have too. A lot like the Bengals game a couple weeks ago.
I made the same comparison.
Kind of looking more into it and who they have played and their personnel and look, a lot of people are making a big deal of how good some of these units are, and they're better than the Chiefs, right? When you look at defensive line, look at offensive line, they are. But that's not necessarily an anomaly. That's not a unique thing. I think the Chiefs, I liken it to the Chargers, right? If you looked on paper, a lot of these players, a lot of these units are better for L.A., and it just has not mattered. And so that's been a thing. The Chiefs have taken on plenty of teams that you might say, hey, outside of Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, the personnel on this team's better. And it hasn't mattered, and they've won. So I don't think that's going to be anything unique. What I say, somebody tweeted that some sort of Spags just going to blitz the hell out of Philadelphia. Their predictions, and so I'm on board with the common thought of take that run game away. You make Jalen Hurts beat you with his arm, and I don't think he's going to do it. He's a weapon, and he's a really good quarterback. If you take that, that not just his legs away, but just the running game as a whole behind that huge offensive line, I trust that secondary. Even though they're young, they're battle tested. I trust them against a Hurts, and I trust a guy like Chris Jones to get through a few times, and playoff Frank to maybe break Willie McGinnis' record on Sunday, stuff like that.
The Sharp Clark that covers the NFL has a string of just breakdowns, and I saw this, and this was really interesting because it sort of gives a more in-depth example of the schedule, the easier teams the Eagles have played. And he says this season the Eagles were so good against a bad schedule, they rarely faced a negative situation, especially against good teams. Said in 2021, 47% of Jalen Hurts dropbacks came when Philadelphia's adjusted win probability was greater than 40%.
Yeah.
So 47%, greater than 40%. This year, 95% of all of his dropbacks, they had a win probability greater than 40%.
47 I thought was high.
Yeah, 95%
Double that.
of his dropbacks. And what he's saying is, he said, QBs perform at a higher level in favorable situations, and the Eagles and Jalen Hurts have been in favorable situations their entire season, and the Chiefs are too good that there's going to be some negative game script a part of this game. What do the Eagles do then? Because Jalen Hurts hasn't had to do that. They haven't been tested. And last year, they weren't nearly as good as they are this year. And, 50% of the time, it was a negative game script. Yeah. And it's going to be that this year because the Chiefs' defense is certainly tougher. And he also broke down the quarterbacks that they've gone up against that have been really good are the quarterbacks that do not let pressures turn into sacks. And Patrick Mahomes is the number one player in the NFL out of 40 qualifiers of the smallest percentage of pressures that turn into sacks.
Yeah.
And Dak Prescott was one of those. Jared Goff was one of those quarterbacks. You're talking about 35 and 40 points that were scored on them when they couldn't get sacks or turnovers. I more and more I like the matchup that there is so much overblown about the Eagles' front and putting pressure on Patrick Mahomes. I think people are envisioning the Bucs Super Bowl because we saw it, but not realizing the completely different offensive line and the fact that Bucs defensive unit was better at overall consistent pressure than the Eagles were, even though the sacks weren't there. I think it's overblown.
You had the greatest leader the game's ever seen in playoff games and Super Bowls opposite you as well, who knows the script, who knows how to win in big games and knows what to do in Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. And I think the youth, but I guess the inexperience compared to what the Chiefs have in the Super Bowl, I think that's worth a point or two. I absolutely do.
Yep. Josh, you got a thought as we our last opportunity to break down this game before you were on the air post-game.
Pamela's pulling cords already. I mean, just unplugging stuff.
I know.
Can you guys still hear me? I don't know.
Yeah, tell her to wait like 6 more minutes if she could, and then 4 more minutes will be fine. I got 2 you want my full prediction? Are we in prediction mode?
Let's just go ahead and let's do prediction mode. Yeah, we got like 4 minutes left. Let's do it.
My first prediction is that at some point next week I'm going to make a trip to Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon, sit on Food Network, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and Man vs. Food at 42nd Pennsylvania and Westport. That's my first prediction. My second prediction, pain. Not from Atomic Cowboy. That's my prediction there is deliciousness. In this game, though, perhaps pain. We've talked about it this week, but I'm buying just enough of the Chiefs' offensive line and their pass catchers to get open, so I feel perfectly fine about the offense. And I think this defensive growth that we've seen over these last 5 games is real. I think playoff Spags is real. So I'm going Chiefs 27, Eagles 24.
So pain equals 27-24. Okay.
I think it will be a tight game, but not a desperate one. I don't think it's going to be 24-3 at any point.
Is it 27-17 that ends up being 27-24 late? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying it might be 24-24, and the Chiefs have about a minute to get into field goal range, and then they do just that.
Okay, we'll see what that is. Mick?
Like any other time of the year, I would predict a close game, but Super Bowls usually aren't close. I was shocked. There have been only 3 won by game-winning kicks out of 57.
They're all the Patriots. It feels like.
All Vinatieri, right?
Yes. Or Gostkowski.
I think it is Vinatieri with Colts, Vinatieri with Patriots, and then one other, one not the Patriots. I can't remember.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. There have been far more big missed kicks in NFL Super Bowl history. I'll go a touchdown spread, and I'll go 30-23 Kansas City.
30-23 Beards.
I am a little bit nervous. I'll take the Chiefs to win, but I get a little scary about, I know it's the playoffs and Frank Clark's better. I know the Chiefs, or Chris Jones is great, but I worry about pressure because we've been doing that for most of the year, and this Eagles offensive line is really good. I'll take the Chiefs. It'll be 3-2, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to watch the game like in between my fingers.
Okay. I think the Chiefs take a lead early. I think they take a lead early, and I think they control most of the game. And the Eagles can't just simply run and control it. We'll see what they have to do when they have to throw a little bit more. I think the defense will be ready to go. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to play like the MVP. I've got the Chiefs 30-24, Mick. 30-24. We'll see.
One off each way.
See what happens. Hey, you know what? Everybody enjoy it. Listen right here on Sports Radio 810 all day today, tomorrow, Sunday, post game with Josh Brisco. We'll talk to you Monday.
Stop by Ralph.